Howdy, people.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. We're starting a little bit early because Karyn's going to do an announcement tonight. Karyn runs a maid service or home cleaning service.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a little bit of a competition to give
Giveaway.
back.
Yeah, a giveaway.
Yeah, to give
Special
back to
community
everyone.
love.
Yeah,
And I like it.
for sure. So, Karyn, go ahead and tell us what you got going on.
So I own and operate a maid service called Clean Home, Happy Home. And the company services the Weber County, Davis County, Salt Lake County, Tooele County areas. But I personally live in Tooele, and so I want to do a little bit of a giveaway to give back to my community. With Corona and everything else that's been going on, and now school's starting again, I realize that some people probably don't have a lot of funds to get all the school clothes, shoes, backpacks, pens, pencils, folders, all that stuff it's required to go to school. So I wanted to do a little giveaway. I want to give away $250 to a child that is attending Tooele County school, any school in Tooele County this year that needs supplies. So I'm asking people to nominate someone that they know is going through a hard time. So just send me a message on Facebook. You can search on Facebook at Clean Home, Happy Home LLC, and it will pop up. You'll see my logo there. That's what that looks like. Can they see that?
They will right now.
Okay. So go to that page right there.
Yep.
And you'll just on the far right side there underneath the logo, it says send a message. Send a message to me and tell me who you want to nominate and why. I'm really hoping to give to someone that really needs it. So the more you tell me about this person and share their story, that definitely helps me make a decision. Not just a simple little, I want to nominate Joey because he doesn't have any school clothes. You know what? What's going on with Joey? I want to know.
Yeah.
How can I really help Joey?
So if you know any family that's in need, maybe one or both of the parents have lost their jobs due to this horrible, heinous pandemic we have going on, or maybe they're in need for whatever reason.
No, anything.
Go to Clean Home, Happy Home LLC, all one word. Don't
leave off the LLC.
Yeah, don't leave off the LLC because you'll find one in Connecticut or somewhere.
Yeah.
But
they're not giving away $250. Don't send them a message.
But not here anyway. You can send them. I mean, you can love bomb them all you want. But
right.
Get anything for it. But go there and sign up.
So how long have you been running Clean Home, Happy Home LLC, Karyn?
It's almost been 3 years. So I've been cleaning for a lot longer than that, probably about 8 years professionally. And then after my youngest was born, I thought, man, money's kind of tight for us. I got to do something, help pay some bills.
Right.
So I just kind of put it out there that I would start cleaning houses. And within like 2 weeks, I was booked like Monday through Friday. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I can't. I'm only one person. I can only do so much. So I just kind of thought, well, what would it look like if I hired someone? What things are required of me? And it's like, oh, you have to have a company name. And so then I was picking a company name, and you got to go to the county, and you got to register it online, and you got to pay this, and you got to pay that, and bonding and insurance. And here we are 3 years later. I have 14 employees and
14 all over the place.
Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, and Tooele.
So let's say if someone, say a young lady down in Cache, wanted to jump on and become a member, would you?
I totally would consider that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, even Utah County. I've got a girl. She used to live in Salt Lake County, works for me, and then she moved to Utah County. So now we're starting to open up into Utah County too.
Little pro bono action going on.
Yep.
Hey,
so
I like it.
I love it.
And now business is good enough where you can start giving back to the community.
Yep.
Here you are in the Tooele Happy Hour.
Yep. How about that?
Amazing.
I love it. I'm a total dork about what I do.
This is our first reach out to the community for a giveaway too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I mean, all except for just charity work that we've talked about. This is the first like business giveaway, and
Yeah.
we love business around here.
Yeah. So you have until, scroll down and look at my post. I forgot the time. I said, you need to send a message because we got to have a cutoff date. Keep scrolling down.
Okay.
Okay, so I actually posted it on the Twilla 411 page.
All right.
And that's where it has all the details is on the Twilla 411 page. So, but I believe it's tomorrow at 10 a.m. is the last, like that.
Tomorrow
After
at
that, I will
10
stop
a.m.
taking messages.
So get your stuff in tonight.
And don't think, oh, well, there's probably so many people that have, already nominated someone. So what's the use? I'm not even going to try. I have only had like 10 messages. So there's not a lot of competition. I really want to help someone who needs this. So the more people I can reach or reach out to me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now this is anyone in Twilla County?
Anyone attending. So I'm giving $250 away to any child attending a Twilla County school, K through 12.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Well, I shared it on our page and
Perfect.
on mine.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Now I hope you tell us about the end results on this,
Yeah,
this
come on.
contest.
Love to. That'd be so
Let's
fun.
come on and do an announcement, and we don't have to, drop the name on the.
For sure. If they
on
want to
the
remain
family
private, we
child,
can
but-
totally respect that. But
yeah,
absolutely.
it'd be good to have a little,
Yep.
little comeback. Know
For sure.
what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to hear some
Some
good
follow
stuff of
through.
the community.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need
Yep.
some happy news.
Yep.
We do.
It is
God
happy
damn.
hour after all.
Yeah, it is the happy hour.
So
Have you guys been watching the Democratic convention at all?
no, I haven't cleaned too many toilets.
That sounds like
You're
the
looking at
Democratic
something a little better.
Some
huh?
other kind of form of that.
more
Yeah.
clean.
I haven't watched anything about it. I've heard a lot about it. Was it true that AOC did a speech and backed Bernie Sanders on it? That's what I heard.
I've kind of heard something about that too, but that would be, they make a cute couple.
I think that is craziness if she did.
I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, they are pretty well aligned together
Yeah, but
politically.
I mean,
Hey, Karyn, do you think, like, if Bernie Sanders called you and said, "Can you clean my house?" What kind of condition do you think it would be in?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you look at the guy. I mean, you kind of wonder, like, if you were to walk into Bernie Sanders' house, what would it look like?
I mean, everyone is always like, oh my gosh, my house is probably the messiest. You know what I mean? But a toilet is a toilet is a toilet. I mean, they're all gross. I don't know. I wonder if he like has parties and like there's beer bottles everywhere.
at
like,
Bernie
What
Sanders,
else? Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? No? More conservative? It's probably immaculate.
empty Viagra casings.
Okay, so whoever Bernie Sanders' mate is, we want to know.
I
Reach
can't. I don't know.
I mean, I actually had lunch with the guy once.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Did he smell good?
No, not anything that you would really
Well,
notice any
he's
differently than anyone
110.
else.
Pretty close.
Well, that was back when I was in the
Okay,
Vermont Air
he was
National Guard.
104.
I was young too.
92. That's funny. I don't know. I don't think about stuff like that. That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder.
Like, would AOC's house be cleaner than Bernie Sanders?
Okay, how many maids are in the White House? Like, how many do you think they employ?
I'm sure that place is spotless right now.
How much square footage is the White House? Anybody know?
I heard it's not as big as everyone kind of like makes it.
Really?
That would conceive mentally of the White House. I heard it's not as big as people think it would be until they go there and they say, "Oh, you know what? It's not as big as I thought it would be." But I can guarantee you, like, it's an older building, so that's got to
Yeah.
be difficult to clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they renovated every.
But with as many people that go in and out of there, it's got to be insane.
I bet you it's spotless, though.
Do you think? They
I
probably
mean, I
have
know the
like,
Pentagon was when I went to the Pentagon a few years ago. It was spotless.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
The Congressional buildings, they're very, very well clean.
I know.
Yeah. Like, you left a piece of hair on the floor, you're fired.
I've been to DC a few times, and I don't know. None of it was insane, but my nephew, I shouldn't tell the story, but I'm going to anyway. So he's probably pushing 5 at the time, and we're walking around. We're by the Hoover contraption there, the Hoover Monument, looks like a set of gears, like it's supposed to be a call out to technology or whatever. And we're sitting at a bench, and it's me, my brother, my sister-in-law, and their 3 kids. And we got the youngest one, and we got the oldest one, but the middle one, we're like, where's he at? So we start yelling for him, and we're running around. Well, he comes, the freeway's just off to the, I don't know, west of us. Mm-hmm. And he comes from around a tree and comes running at us, and he says, I had to go pee.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I got stories like that.
So he went and dropped trow right there.
Yeah.
DC is a good place for that, I bet.
Yeah.
Robbie, who's now 12, when he was, he probably was only 3 or 4, about the same age.
Yeah.
And we invited one of my husband's work buddies over for a barbecue, and he came over, and my kids, of course, are excited to see someone because we live in Delta. There's not really anybody, not a whole lot of people out there. Anyway, so Robbie was showing him around our yard, and he showed the work buddy where his pee spot was in the yard.
Really?
And his poop spot in my backyard. It was terrible.
Nice.
We were like, oh, buddy, why?
Some things you just keep to yourself.
Just stop.
Nice. That's funny stuff.
He laughed about it pretty good.
This is where I poo.
Right.
This is where I...
It was like out behind the pump house. We had a well, and
I like the town of Delta myself.
no neighbors, so that was a good thing.
Yeah. Thanks for coming
Thank
in,
you
Karyn.
so much. Yeah.
All right.
Send a
Thank you,
message
Karyn.
And
tomorrow,
we will see you
10
next
a.m.
Thursday.
Perfect. See you guys soon.
We'll have you come back on and start it off fresh, just like this.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks. See you soon.
I'm going to go grab Kael, and we may as well have some beer.
Tell the audience a little bit about your concoction here, Jared.
So, all right. This is a Northern IPA from Northern Brewers. You can buy them on Amazon. Yeah. So anyway, Northern Brewery. It's an IPA. It's thick. It's a heady bastard. A lot of hops went into this beer. A lot of hops. Smelled great making it. And we'll have to see how it tastes.
I'm going to judge the hell out of you here.
It's a hazy bastard. Look how hazy that is.
All right. Bottoms up.
Hey, cheers.
Happy hour.
Happy hour.
I didn't get.
All right.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's a hoppy brew.
That's thick.
That's the way I
Heavy,
like it.
But it's got a lot of flavor to it. It's got fruit. It's fruity.
A little bit. There's a little bit of esters in it.
I'm almost tasting something that's like honey.
Yeah, that's that might be one of the different hops. It has a really citrusy hop in the finish. But yeah,
I would drink that a second time.
oh yeah,
so.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us more about the person you just had on doing a great thing for the community, because one of the issues we like to talk about is people being better neighbors.
yeah.
Make sure you lean into the mic.
Yeah, people being better neighbors.
Right.
So
Well, let's start out and announce who we got first.
yeah, well,
Let's talk about you.
We got Kael Weston. The first name's a little odd. It's Kael. I have misspelled his name on every email I've sent, text, and probably every other time. But Kael Weston. Now, Kael is a Democrat, and we all know my political leanings, but we get along great.
we do.
We get along great. I'm not a Republican, but you know, I'm further away from larger government groups, but you don't seem to be one that strikes me as the authoritarian flavor we seem to be catching a lot.
I'm not, yeah, in fact,
You can go ahead and pull the mic right
I
up.
would say authoritarian is not what we Democrats are talking about right now as far as our party. It's what we're concerned about. So there's a difference there that's pretty significant.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on which way you look at authoritarian from. I see authoritarian on both sides.
Yeah.
I see it on both sides. I'm worried about the kind of the private authoritarian that we've got coming out of Antifa and BLM, the things they did up in Portland and Washington. Things are going on in Chicago. Of course, Atlanta, where private people get up put up an illegal roadblock and then kill what was it, an 8-year-old child in the car because the parents didn't stop at their non-sanctioned roadblock, and then silence about it.
Yeah, the situation in our country right now is pretty bad, and I think one of the reasons why that we like to come and talk with you is that I don't believe that we're going to solve any problems if I sit around a table with Democrats only and nod our heads up and down. So
That's
we
right.
can talk about our meeting with Mr. Bundy, or my conversation with Mr. Bundy, which gets to that
Yes,
as well, which
definitely.
we'll get to. You guys will get the first scoop, and Ty was on the call too, so I think he would want to talk about it. But the division in our country is one of the reasons why I'm running. So that case, other cases like it, I would say the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, however you want to probably define it, is an important issue for us to talk about, because I think law enforcement and the reform of law enforcement is something you probably could help me get smarter about. How would you look at finding the balance of what should be done, what shouldn't be done, where some of the problems are? I was talking to a
Three things right off the start.
Yep.
Eliminate asset forfeiture. That's theft. That's government theft. That's all it is. It's
Period.
theft. And it was Joe Biden that pushed it through. So that's another thing that's got to be recognized. What is that? What's that other thing? The protections. Why'd my mind go blank? I had it on my tongue.
Oh,
but
the protections afforded by the police
Yeah.
department if they do something negligible.
what is it?
From being
it's
Yeah.
qualified.
Qualified immunity.
Mhm.
That needs to be eliminated. A police officer should stand on his own standing when every action he makes. I'm a firm believer that police officers should be held to a higher standard because they've been given the rights and the responsibility by their friends and neighbors, whatever. They chose it, but they've been given those
Right.
to carry a firearm and issue citations and confiscate property from people. So that I think they need to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
I think if a police officer cheats on his wife, he's out. That shows a lack of character.
So it's almost the military way of.
I want it stronger than the military. I want that to be the strongest. And they need to train them more, obviously, but they do away with qualified immunity, and they've got to do away with the police unions to where the police officer gets in trouble and then he's protected to go to another police department. I heard a story of here in Utah, there was a police officer in a small town that would pull ladies over and have his sexual intercourse to get out of the ticket. Well, that town fires him. He goes to a town of the exact same name in another state. Starts it right back up again.
Yeah.
And it's weird. The funny part is he picked a town of the exact same name.
Interesting.
So, but that's because the unions protect them from saying, this guy is a liability on the department. It's time to get rid of him.
So unions, no role for police unions.
I don't like public sector unions at all. That's unions gathered up to rob from the people. I don't like public sector unions. Private sector unions have a place. Public sector unions can be argued through the branches of government. They don't need another
We'll
union
talk
in
post
there.
office eventually, USPS, because I think that would be an interesting topic that's really important right now. I don't know, Ty, did you want to talk about like police reform? Because he has strong views on that. And Ty is our tech director and a former Marine rifleman, and he's always sort of the guy who hears me talk and tells me when I'm full of crap. So you have pretty good views about police reform too.
Normally, I got to be the one telling you to get the microphone closer to your face, or I'm always tweaking on adjusting video or something like that. But I think it's a pretty serious issue that really has come to a head in a lot of ways right now. And I mean, here in Utah, in the last handful of years, we've been looking at case after case that's gone down. Matt Stewart starting, first of all, in Ogden. Well, I shouldn't say starting, but really in 2012 there, that really was one such case that I think we're talking about, that were it not for the way that we've prosecuted a war on drugs, calling having a couple of plants allegedly.
Oh, that's that guy where they come in
a
his
situation where you need to send in plain clothes, narcotics, strike force.
That was the third
tactical team.
Yeah, no knock search warrants out the door.
Exactly.
Gone.
Yeah.
And there's an argument. If you look at it historically, SWAT teams were designed to stop active shooter situations.
Right.
SWAT teams in the U.S. I don't think has ever stopped an active shooter situation. There were 6 SWAT teams at in Colorado, at Aurora, Colorado, when those was Columbine.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Columbine. 6 SWAT teams.
They came into the high school.
After the kids shot themselves, after those 2, let's call them bastards, after those 2 bastards killed themselves, the SWAT team didn't make an entry until an hour and 45 minutes after that. So why have a SWAT team? They'd have been better off just calling in the National Guard. They could have mobilized a squad. Squad could have been in there. And a squad is known to run into fire, where it's shown the police haven't done so good at that.
Right. Yeah. So I think, that's there's so many areas of, what we consider to be policing that I think can be just walked back, scaled back. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily as extreme as defunding the police, but hey, guess what? If we stop doing the drug war the way we've been doing it, then
we reduce so much liability.
We've got a long way to.
Which police are probably for, right? I mean, I don't hear this.
I don't think so. I would say you're 50-50. Most police officers are not bad apples, despite what the world is saying.
Yeah, they're not. But
they are either.
I mean, look, you were a police officer, pretty much.
Semi-ish. But
look at him now.
But you look at it, it's not that they're bad apples, but they've been handed a job and trained to do a job in a specific manner. So they go through post, and this is how you do this, XYZ, XYZ. They're going to go out on the street and XYZ, XYZ, and they're not going to think out of the box a lot. Some of them might, but the average ones, they're going to do their training. It's a job. It's like I work in a factory and I, pound this widget into this, curmudgeon hole, whatever. That's what they do, and they're going to follow that. So we've got to change it on the levels where some issues, some liberties have been taken, and confiscation of property without the committance of a crime or without the conviction of a crime, got to be done. One reason they do that is so that the drug dealers and what have you can't have the money to pose a good defense for themselves. All right, that allows them to have more convictions, but what does more convictions do? It swells the need for prisons, and prison unions get it big, and then because of that, the prison union is the biggest union that fights against legalization of marijuana. Well, the privatization, it's just capitalism. You open a hole, and it's going to get filled.
Okay.
That's the nature
so
of the
let's
government
close
beast.
the hole. Close the hole. We found this out in 21, a year after they made prohibition. Wait a second, this was a bad idea, and immediately they started grinding. How do we undo this? And it took another amendment to undo it. Well,
I would argue, other than amendments on this, there are better amendments we should talk about tonight as well, which is maybe looking at public financing of elections and money in our system. So there are a lot of issues that we
see. I think it's mute at this point in time in our technology to worry about campaign finance. It's the money's going to get to the person if the person wants the money and the people have the desire to get it there. There's just,
and I mean, yeah, the Republicans push that through, but right now the largest group that funnels money in a shady way is Act Blue.
Who?
Act Blue.
But Act Blue, I donate through Act Blue.
All right. But then
we
again,
get donations through Act Blue.
Why does money that goes into BLM funnel right into Act Blue and back into the Democrat Party? A big surge for Joe Biden when Bernie Sanders was beating him in money. That night, a big surge. Act Blue pumped it out.
Well, it comes from donations. So, I just checked.
But it comes from donations.
It was good to see that when I talked about education for today for an hour, people were responding to someone talking about issues that they cared about. Act Blue is just an organization that collates donations.
Yeah, it's a super PAC.
Well, it's based on individual donations directed to Democratic candidates.
Okay, but it's a super PAC. But it also takes money through, larger organizations, and that's fine. I'm not against that. I don't like it when you see an argument on one side when that one side does the exact same thing.
No, I think to your point about my view is that if you have a nurse or a teacher who thinks, oh, I should run for office, but it's too expensive. I don't want people not choosing to get involved in public service because they feel like you've got to have $1 million in the bank. I'll be honest with you guys. When I decided to run, guess what the figure is they quoted me? Oh, you want to run for Congress against Chris Stewart? Guess what figure they quoted me?
$5 million.
Millions.
Yeah.
I mean, the lower end, but
Probably-
1 to 2 million.
probably,
But
yeah,
Think
one-
how that made me feel. Someone who
1.5
is a
from the
teacher and a
start.
writer. You know, I don't have $1 million.
You've never seen 1.5 million.
But
yeah.
I disagreed with the premise that money buys elections.
Well, I would
And
like
we
to
can
see.
talk about that.
I would like to see it done publicly, but I would like to see it done through NPR, PBS, maybe, and just done like that. And then it's done through them. We need to get the Democrats and the Republican out of the debates. The debate should be kicked back to the, what was it, who used to run the National Women's Coalition or whatever.
So not as partisan.
It's got to be kicked out because the libertarians are stumped from them regardless.
And
It
they
doesn't
have a
matter.
big voice too. I mean, I would say Jo Jorgensen is like, I mean, she's getting a lot of credentials from Democrats and Republicans that don't want to go in Trump's favor or Biden's favor. And I
How do
mean,
you view the people who listen to your program? Are they in that category of don't like either Biden or Trump or are looking for?
I think it depends on if you're on or not. 'Cause you know our Democrat audience, they support you very strongly.
Yeah.
They're the ones that actually led us to you. So I would imagine depends on who our guests are, because we're not so big that we can actually make a name for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's who we're dragging on. If we have Chris Stewart on, I bet you we'll have a huge Republican audience. If we got you on, we're going to have a huge Democrat audience.
And that's tough. It's tough that we've that as a nation we've split into our partisan roles. And it's always worked out well in the past for all other nations who've tried
Well,
it.
I'll tell you,
just like our
the
inflation
divide zone right now, I would say, are near DEFCON 1, and I'm worried about November 3rd to January 21st, because if our country doesn't decide that whatever happens in a credible election is the will of the people and the people have spoken, then what? And that's what Mr. Bundy and I talked about.
It doesn't matter. I don't think either way the vote goes. Now, here's the big difference is I doubt you're going to see riots out of the Republican side. It's not their way.
Thunder.
Oh, boy.
Well timed.
Look at that. Some thunder hit
As
off.
soon as you say Republican,
Allah has spoken. He agrees with me. Mark the day. But anyways, Republicans aren't known for doing that. I think the last time the common working blue collar guy got out and
who
marched,
tend to be Democrats.
no,
Yeah.
that they were
Yeah.
in
We need to get more
72.
back, yeah.
You know,
So you say that left would be the ones that would be
the
on the streets.
it's open and clear.
What if Trump loses by 12 points?
I think you'll get arguments that run through the state. You'll get a lot of Facebook arguments.
Yeah.
But when was the last time you saw right wing or Republican flavored people out tipping cars and go ahead.
Not tipping cars necessarily, but there's a lot of activism, I think, from
There-
the anti-abortion side particularly.
There
that
is.
sometimes can get.
When was the last time there was an abortion clinic bombing?
It's been more than a decade, at least.
Early 90s, if I
Early
remember.
90s, yeah.
I'm sure there's death
So-
threats and all sorts of crazy
And
stuff going
that
on.
wasn't specifically Republican, but they were different parties back then. They were totally different parties back then.
But politics shouldn't
Go ahead, pull the mic over.
be violent, lead to violence.
They should
If-
not.
If politics
They
is
should not.
being handled in a reasonable way by whether a Democrat like me, and I'm proud to be a Democrat, and we should spend some time talking about what we mean by definitions, because
I would love that.
I don't
'cause
think all Democrats are the same.
my
I don't think
family
all
comes
God,
from
no.
Democrats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine too.
Yeah, and I'm running to build bridges. That's kind of a cliche, but it's really true. Like
Yeah.
if I were, some Democrats would walk in here and say, well, most wouldn't actually, but some would walk in here and say, I only want to run in a blue bubble because that's our community of interest. We can all agree on what's important and have a representative speak for us. And I sometimes get heat from Democrats who say, hey, why are you arguing that you wouldn't change the boundaries of CD2, the district I'm running in, at all? And I say, because honestly, I think there's a lot of commonality when you start to talk to people and listen to each other. And what we're not doing right now is we're not listening. And I do care about the state of our country. And this is where Ryan Bundy and I agreed. And to the audience, we'll talk more about my 2-hour conversation with Ryan Bundy. And I'll probably be going out to see him in Cedar City to have to continue the conversation. Because what we're talking about is how do we get to a point where, as we said, more peace and prosperity for our country is good for everyone.
Well, can we get the government out of our wallets? At least a little more.
Yeah, I just prepaid some taxes, so
I'll bet if I worked my
Oh.
taxes out, I'll bet I'll bet if I work out all my taxes, sale tax and all that, I'll bet I work half the year
to pay
to give to the government.
Keep the government out of your wallet, but hold on to your private keys.
Yeah.
It's the,
Yeah.
Bitcoin,
Amen.
sir.
Well, and that's the thing. I agree with that. And I'm hoping Bitcoin takes off. If we could just if
We should talk more
PayPal
about that.
would work with Bitcoin, that would
That
change
ain't
the
gonna
game.
How about let's talk.
That ain't gonna happen.
Let's talk Bitcoin in a minute. But I do want to say that the reason I'm running, there are a lot of reasons not to do this. I was pretty content being a not well paid but pretty happy writer and teacher.
What do you teach?
I was teaching a lot of war-related topics at Westminster, and then I
Okay.
co-taught a class at the U, and then I still teach Marines at Quantico Marine Corps University through online. So
Like,
I'm
what do
teaching
you
a
teach them?
Well, right now the class I'm teaching is home fronts as war fronts, the civilian experience in war. So the whole goal there is to look at war.
And we got your book
yeah,
right here.
we got the book. So I guess it's a good transition.
Yeah.
To hold that up.
Yeah, I want to hold this
It's a
up.
2-pounder. It's bulletproof in case you want to use it for other reasons.
Yeah.
And put it in my plate.
Target
That's a
practice.
beautiful book, too. That's
It
a
is, and
beautiful
there's
sleeve
one
on there.
for each of you, and so I'm teaching them about what it means when civilians get caught in the middle of what we do in their country. So
Yep.
only 5 of these photos are not mine. So when you're at home tonight looking through the photo insert, only 5 of these photos I didn't take out of about 95.
Yeah,
So
well-
my goal in the class is to have Marines of all ranks, from corporals to colonels, say, oh, I never thought about if I had a tank in my hometown for a week, I would start getting pissed off. And, it's looking at how our role in their country.
Or what if your cousin's wedding was bombed?
Exactly.
Or what if
Oh, could you imagine that happening?
you
in
had
our
kind of
country?
a
Just
working,
imagine.
just something
drones
simple.
overhead that decide we know what's going on the ground. And
What if you had a water workings and your water worked, and when you turned the lights came on, and then they didn't for a week?
And those kind of feelings, they do determine the outcome of a victory or not. Have you ever heard of the book Nothing Less Than Victory?
no.
Now, that's my favorite all-time war book. It explains why certain wars through antiquity, or say the Civil War or whatnot, why were some victorious versus others not being victorious. I mean, it goes through everything from like Persia to Carthage to the Civil War, and it's written by a libertarian author who passed away. But if you're into war theory and why would a civilian population and the thought processes that they're having affect the war, I couldn't think of a better book to
Nothing
promote.
Less Than Victory.
Nothing Less Than Victory.
Because I'm a teaching working candidate, which I don't know if you get our messages, but I'll make sure we send them to you. But I think I make myself a better candidate by thinking about how do I pay my bills. Because again, the problem in our system is the money in the system, and we can talk about people's right to donate, but it's a barrier for average people to get involved. And that's, I think, what the problem is that it shouldn't be millionaires and billionaires that can self-fund that say, oh, I can do this because I've got the time, or I don't have to worry about a paycheck. Because if we don't have a government that reflects us as a people, that gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the libertarians get screwed just like other people.
Oh, the
because it's a
libertarians
two-party-
get screwed by the media first. That's step one. Same with Bernie Sanders. He got screwed by the media. When they're calling out in Nevada, here's who won. They stop at second place. Well, who was in first? They're not going to say his name. But I guess you could look at it, if you want to look at it historically, when the nation was initially set up, It was set up so that voters were those who had stake in the game, who had, landowners and business owners. And that way people who weren't contributing to society couldn't vote.
Yeah, the slaves, it took a while.
Not the
I
slaves.
know, I'm just saying it took a while.
Just the people who said, I want to vote to make it so he can't have 5 acres. I get one of his acres.
Yeah.
Now I agree with the slavery issue. If you want to dig into that one.
No. I just want to say that there was a huge original sin here that our country's still dealing with. And that's how I would say that Black lives, whatever words we want to use, I believe that that's probably worth talking about. On the barrier to entry in politics is how I look at money.
Yeah.
I don't think money should ever prevent the nurse or the teacher
it shouldn't.
or the farmer from saying, hey, I can be that citizen who goes to work for the people and then leaves.
Or what about the Hatch Act? It's illegal for me to run for public office because I'm a GS something or other in the government. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, and that probably would need to be looked at. I agree. I mean,
I think you know what? I'll be honest. I'd love to have a hobby like yours. Even if I loved Chris Stewart, I'd still love to just run for office.
It's a hobby. I'm not sure it's a hobby. It doesn't feel like a hobby.
Yeah,
brew beer.
Doing
That's a
good
hobby.
deeds is always a great side job.
Yeah.
And you know what? It shouldn't be money as the leading factor of why people want to vote for you. It shouldn't be the advertisements. It should be the product you offer.
Yep.
If I can offer a better product than the other guy, then you should be able to market that fairly simple if you can just get the word out.
And that's
and getting the word out is the money.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd like to do away with political parties. Everyone stands alone.
Yeah,
you stand alone. You face it alone. I mean, or make political parties to where they're limited to a statewide level. And then we need to go back to the what amendment was it that made it so that the people voted for senators? That's supposed to be the state representative. That's supposed to be what the state pushes for. The people vote for the congressman.
17th Amendment.
Yeah, the
That's the
17th.
thing we were just talking
Yeah.
about.
Ryan raised the same
We
point.
need to go back to that. The state needs to have a voice. Because right now the states are being overrun by the federal government, and then we're wondering why federal police are on the ground.
Yeah, no, honestly, when we talk and having talked with Mr. Bundy, there's a consistent approach that I needed to hear unfiltered, and it's this issue of encroachment and these layers of government, and where is the layer of government not needed, or where is it
in a
needed,
little bit.
or where is it needed, and his argument was that the only legitimate law enforcement is the county sheriff.
Yep,
That
that's
anything other than the county sheriff is unnecessary.
And that is
basically.
true. I mean, the county sheriff is the only law enforcement officer that wasn't started either to protect a president or to capture slaves. That's it. The police got their start capturing slaves in the United States anyway.
Yeah,
Or I should say capturing runaway slaves. We didn't send, police officers over to Africa to
But
initially
the
capture.
person I'm running against is running on that, hey, we Democrats, he argues, want all to defund the police, that we want to get rid of the police. That's not what I'm arguing.
I think the Democrat Party is, no offense, but I think they don't have a message on that. They're just, okay, a lot of people are saying something, say it with them.
Well, they seem so fractured.
No one's formulated it.
I would say it's certainly a contradictory message with the naming of Kamala
What,
Harris,
Kamala
to, be,
Harris?
to be the vice
We
president.
could dig onto her.
I knew Kamala was
Will
going
you
to come
grab
up.
me another
By
one
the
of
way,
those?
hi, Kamala.
Yeah,
It's your big night. I am proudly a Democrat. But let's talk about the top cop, Kamala Harris, in California, or her role as a prosecutor.
Well, okay, let's step one. Biden didn't pick her. First of all, Biden forgets to wipe his ass when he pulls the toilet paper off the roll.
I disagree, but I'll let that go.
Well, you don't think Biden is knee-deep in dementia?
If we're going to talk about my concern about the current president versus the one who wants his job, maybe we should be here till midnight.
Don't put them in a corner.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I believe that this is a referendum on everything going on in our country right now. And if people are okay with the state of our country, there's been a 3 year and about 9 month report card. And that report card is not owned by a Democratic president. It's owned by a Republican president who really wasn't a Republican until he chose to sort of...
I still say he's a Democrat, but that's just me.
Well,
Let me tell you what I like about Trump.
and that's partly true, who he donates to when you look at where he put his money.
Oh, yeah.
But even his
I think he
policies.
gave money to Kamala when she was running in California,
Yes,
correct?
he did.
His policies are old Democrat. They really are.
Let me tell you what I like about Trump. Let's first lay these out. Okay? I like that Trump has taken the filter off of politics. We've always had these polished, fake people up there, and he comes out and he's taking the filter off. Now, he's added a little bit of filter lately. I don't know why, but he's taken the filter off. All right. I like that. I want to see the flaws. I want to see the tweets from the shitter at 2 a.m. while he's working on a growler. While he's trying to push Burger King out of his body, I want to see him tweet something nasty to someone else. I want to see it because I want a human being in that office.
I've never heard it put that way, but it will now forever be.
I like that. I like that. Now, next time you see one of his tweets, you're going to wonder, was it a Mick whatever, or was it a
Double
BK
bacon
this? Yeah,
It's the Whopper, right?
you know.
And it
then,
is a Whopper every time he
and
puts
you know it
something
wasn't-
out. It's a Whopper.
You know, it wasn't that amazing meat, fake stuff. Because
Okay, authenticity, I agree, can be in many ways. I'm not sure I need an authentically abusive president toward individual Americans.
okay, so he's
It's
abusive
not just
and
tone.
abrasive, and
Well, no, I mean he'll go
whatever.
after people from the highest office of the land like it's a game. It might be entertaining at one level, but to me, it's not right.
I
To
think
me-
Obama did the same thing, though, didn't he? I mean, like, he's like telling police officers to come have a beer with him so he can tell them what crapheads
Well,
they
there's
are,
not
right?
just, and I don't want to do a whataboutism game, but I mean, Obama came out on what was that kid in Florida's name?
Gonzalez.
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. All right. Look, there was no good party in that, but Obama came out on a side and started these riots we're living with right now. Started them because he came out on a side. Now, if he'd have kept his
Kind sometimes do this, which is timeout.
If he'd have
I
kept
won't,
his-
I won't interject right away, but I just want to make sure
he'd have kept
people
his-
know that there are points we'll come back to.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, I'll
No,
just do that.
we'll hit it right now. But if he'd have kept his goddamn mouth shut, let his Justice Department run that, and then come out, we'd have been better off. All right. Now the whole transcripts of that, Zimmerman, misguided, probably a lot of daddy issues, and probably could use a hug. And
Everything we're going to get when we defund the police, we're going to get Zimmerman. That's what we're going to get.
So Zimmerman, your view was the original problem where
no, I think that was an issue. That was a horrible issue. But we'll have dead silence on Chicago any given weekend when it's not freezing cold. We've got war zone levels deaths in one fucking city and dead silence.
How do you cover something like that, though, Jared? How? I mean, there's so much. It's so intense.
First of all, you do away with the goddamn welfare system that's running the fathers out of the home. You do away with the drug war that's taking the fathers from the home, and you keep fathers in there.
Have a father incentive instead of a
Ta-da.
single mother incentive.
Ta-da.
you guys talked about that last time, which I think is a legitimate point about the breakdown of
How do we keep the
family
fathers in the
structures.
home? And then, as you're throwing all those young men in jail, it becomes a desert of men for those women to select from. So those men go hitting up 5, 6 ladies a year, squirting babies in them. Those babies have no chance, no father, living a dole of the state, which living off the state also causes a grudge within you, and then it's a cycle that keeps repeating.
So, yeah, where do we go from here? I'm running not to just highlight what's wrong, but how to get us to a better
Issue's
place.
not big in Utah.
Well, but I mean, other stuff. Like, where do we get to a point where, we've got a functioning government again? So you're saying both parties are equally
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
well, let's face it. The Democrats are great for destroying business and destroying states. Anywhere there's a Democratic supermajority in the state, that state is bankrupt or on the verge thereof.
I don't know if the data.
How's California?
California
panning
was doing gangbusters until COVID.
out? No, it wasn't.
It was up until they
California.
flipped it. No, they flipped it.
California 20 years
or-
ago was the 10th biggest economy
Fifth. It's been fourth
in
or
the
fifth.
world.
Correct. Yeah.
In the world, and it's constant. And 10 years before that, it was like the third. It was huge, and it keeps dropping. Now they weren't doing gangbusters; they were kind of riding.
Well,
Nissan
before
left,
COVID, though, California had flipped their state budget. They had,
Nissan. Well, and they did that by saying we'll
Jerry
give,
Brown came back, and people are like, "Hallelujah, Jerry Brown's back." He got things back. California is an expensive state. You've lived there.
Jerry Brown and the $100 billion train.
Yeah,
Well, but I mean, they did get their
but
finances
and
back.
how did he do it? How did he get Californians to stay and work?
You tell me.
He did it by tax incentives to the actors.
To the actors, to
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Hollywood?
Yeah.
Hollywood's not driving.
No, well,
California.
Apple's there, Facebook's
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
All these
Not
high
the
tech
Hollywood.
companies
Hollywood's
are
not
there.
the
But
economy.
Nissan left, Toyota left, all those guys.
And that's sensible. I can understand
They
why.
pop smoke. They're all in Texas and Kentucky now.
Yeah, I think SpaceX even is leaving for Houston.
Yep.
They're big in Florida too.
Dallas or
SpaceX
something,
is
yeah.
huge in Florida.
So and Republican supermajority states have other such issues where, now granted, it doesn't matter what state you go to, the welfare system is taking its toll on the minority communities. And I blame that on the welfare system. I don't think that inherently minority communities will commit more crimes than others, but I think
Because I don't. I mean, I would. When people want to put minority communities in that box, I disagree.
I
with
don't
it.
think
Yeah.
they would. There's all evidence shows that prior to the welfare system, they actually committed less crimes. They actually were married with children more often. I think that when you strip the father out of home, because mothers and fathers have something to teach their children, both sides. Mothers and fathers, mothers teach them that empathy, fathers teach them that respect.
It gives them security to have a whole family.
And then also, yes, if you have a mother and a father in the home, you have security. There's a whole lot of psychological effects that flow
There's
down.
many ways to define family. We could talk about that. I don't think
Okay,
it has to be
mothers and mothers
just, you know,
or fathers
whatever.
and fathers.
I mean, I'm just saying. There's
Either
what
way.
is important is the unit and the love within that unit,
Yes.
or the support. So
Also, let's just picture a kid when the mom comes down at 5 years old and says, "Let's go visit Daddy," and it's on the other side of plexiglass.
yeah.
Or your daddy's a pile of crap. He's not supporting you. So, but this, government cheese is what we get in lieu of that.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, though. If Kael is against the war on drugs, that's a big plus for you, man. That is a big plus for you.
We in our team, we talk about a lot of what's gone wrong with policy, and I think the data starts to pile up.
And it's both parties.
Well, right, but I'm a fact-based candidate. I mean, honestly, I don't run on I think something. I try and look at what the data shows, and I think that's important when you want to represent people, that you're not so ideological. And this is a difference between me and Mr. Stewart. And I wish, and I hope he joins me here one day with masks on. And the reason why we're not wearing masks is because we know you don't have COVID. But one of the things that I think
Giant pussies.
one of the things I think that
Did that fall out of my face?
It did.
I say that? Man, I've
we'll
had
talk
too much
COVID
beer.
as well, because Ryan, it came up with Ryan too. But
I need more water.
I think when ideology drives policy making, that's what gets us into a big problem, because you're not looking at a fact-based discussion. You're looking at politics driving it. And I wouldn't be doing this if I was happy with the status quo. I think the status quo is hurting a lot of people. It's hurting a lot of families. I was on a conversation today about a lot of kids. The only way they get fed is through federal programs that say, you get your lunch. I believe that's important. That's something that I want as a member of our society, not just as someone wanting to represent 720,000 people, give or take. Is I don't want kids starving in any community because they were born into some environment that they didn't get a choice.
Oh, I agree.
So
What
I'm
if-
running on that. I'm
Let me
running
ask
on
you-
investing.
let
It's
me-
not about taxing. It's about investing in future generations. I'm not ideological. I welcome Trump voters to come talk to me, and I've talked to a lot of them, and I think some of them are going to vote for me because I try not to bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me
I've
ask
been
you a
through enough
question
already
about-
in my life. I don't need this job. I've done harder things. Fallujah, Helmand, what I wrote about in those wars was a hell of a lot harder than running for Congress. But I think it's one of the most important things I'm doing. And our team hears that all the time. And Ty's a Marine who was being shot at in Helmand, and maybe he can talk to you about that. Those of us who lived the failures of foreign policy over the last 20 years come with a certain credibility, I think, about why we give a shit about what's broken in our country. And we've been through worse. But we're not going to accept more division.
So to compare, you're kind of along with Tulsi Gabbard on that.
I think Tulsi Gabbard raises some points about the forever war argument.
I love Tulsi Gabbard.
I
I do
on the
too.
war.
I wish she was the nomination.
If Joe Biden
Oh,
was
man.
to have nominated her, because let's face it, dementia kills, I would have voted for him.
If it had been Tulsi,
Oh yeah.
I don't. I don't want to say anything negative about Tulsi. I think
I don't.
there
I
are
hate her
people-
domestic
I
policy.
think there are
hate it.
people who I'm
But-
not sure she's really Democrat. So
I can sacrifice.
she's more other things, so
That's
you can't
fine.
nominate someone to be
I
vice
would-
president. But
I
I
appreciate
would-
diversity.
I would vote for anything but a straight up Marxist that'll get us out of the wars. Just because I won't vote for a Marxist because I know they bring war here and
well, and
starvation.
these wars were, the Iraq War was both parties got in on that bandwagon. So
And the Afghanistan war and the Vietnam war and
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, did
Where
you
my
see?
dad and two uncles, they were all in Vietnam.
Did you see? Did you see any of the Republicans argue when Johnson flooded us into Vietnam, or how about when Clinton flooded us into the Balkans?
Yeah, that was
you
an
know?
air war. That was
Even then, I mean, just so you get caught with a blowjob,
Well-
so you take care of a pharmaceutical company in North Africa, just to just so the news doesn't look at where you put your cigars at night.
Don't worry about that one, Kael.
No, I believe in coming to where the good discussions are. So we will not discuss Bill Clinton's cigars.
Hey,
but we will-
if people are listening to me, they know. And
A man's private life is his
my
private
beer's
life.
kind
from
of
my
strong. I'm kind of
perspective.
digging this.
Yeah, it
Hey,
is
I'm
strong.
gonna say this. I just had two different beers. Okay,
Yeah.
I usually drink this one.
Cutthroat.
This you went to Cutthroat.
Yeah.
I'm wishing I poured one of Jared's beers right now. I'm gonna actually say this was usually my preferred beer. Jared, you must have made a really good product
Hey.
because my tongue is saying, I like the other one better.
I was going to say a lot of people don't. They're not fans of the hoppy thing. I happened to be under certain circumstances, and this one was pretty exceptional.
Oh, that's my jam. I love hops. Have you ever smelt hops?
Yeah,
If you, just you can go buy a pack at any beer store. Open it up, put it to your face. It's magical. It's bitter. It's citrus. It's.
When did you start brewing? How long ago?
The first time I brewed, my brother, if he's still listening, it was a bad batch, very bad. It was horrible, but that would have been about 20 years ago. And then I've taken about a 20-year break, so this one was brewed a month ago.
This is in Grantsville where you did it
I
initially?
did it here in my kitchen.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, you just do it at home, do all the stuff. It's like cooking, women bake and men put stuff in water and boil
They
it.
do the dishes.
Yeah,
Chemistry.
yeah.
So back to kind of like, I am concerned about how divided we are as a country. Like, politics can be a deadly business if we do it wrong. And, when we started a war that didn't need to start, a lot of Iraqis died, a lot of Marines died, a lot of soldiers died. And, I'm running because governing, in my view, is a deadly serious business. And I think when we don't treat it that way, the most vulnerable pay the biggest price. It's the kids that are struggling to just get a meal through their school. So as a Democrat, I will proudly say I will pay more in taxes to make sure those kids get fed. Absolutely.
Or why not just a kick-ass soup kitchen?
I wanted to come
Well,
back
because
to
I
that.
believe I believe a government role is to say to school districts, don't use budget crunch as a reason to cut that program, especially during COVID. So we should talk about where I think, and if you don't think COVID is as bad as it is, maybe we could talk about that. But I think what COVID has shown is that our system hurts people unequally. I mean, the data is pretty clear. If you're a minority, if you live in a certain part of Salt Lake City, you're going to pay, and your family is going to pay a bigger price when shit hits the fan and when the system starts to fail. And you
Should
see
I
it on
just
the
get him a switch outside so when the mic's not close
you
enough?
see it, yeah. You see it on the west side.
You know, I have a lavalier outside.
Do you? You just
If you have an adapter maybe for that mixing board, we could get 4 mics in here, and it'll make it a little less awkward.
oh yeah, we could throw another mic
We'd have to-
in.
We'd have to troubleshoot right now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
On
the downside.
screen troubleshooting like
Use the physical switch.
like
But
what
I mean,
always do.
these mics are going to pick up everything probably. Right?
Well, these are direct contact
Oh,
mics,
It's
but
better to hear it with the headphones on. And
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe you could throw the headphones on. But no, I agree with you on. But could that be because, let's face it, I don't want to say minor. I don't like.
Divisions that way.
I don't
labeling.
like saying minorities are poor,
No,
even if statistically, because I think they're the same as us. They're
absolutely.
They're. I shouldn't even say the same as us. They're just human beings. We're all
Absolutely.
human beings.
And Jared,
It's-
that's exactly
It's not like
where
okay,
politics fails.
You guys
people
are all human
is
beings.
When we
I'm a Neanderthal. You guys are human beings, but I've been educated. So, but I would say in poorer areas, their food is less healthy. So you got the diet feeds into it. Probably their work situation's a little worse, and they're probably crowded into tighter spaces.
and that's where the transmission of COVID.
And that's where it happens. So I don't want to say it targets a color. I don't know. You got that the hokey thing that if you got something blood, you're safe or whatever. But I'm just saying it's all situation. And yes, I agree with that. But I wanted to go back to the taxes to feed people, because what happened to community charity? It's been destroyed by the government stepping in and taking over. And let's face it, governments are fickle and don't follow up on what they do.
I don't think it's been destroyed as much as when you're looking
How
at
many Rotary clubs are left?
You're talking to a Rotarian right here.
Okay.
I'm a member of the
How
Salt
many are
Lake
left?
Rotary Club,
Okay.
and I'm glad you're talking Rotary
Because Grantsville Rotary Club is gone.
and why is that? Is the younger generation not civic minded enough to join a Rotary?
Or maybe because the federal government and the state government stepped in and booted them off the market.
I would say it's because everyone's on their damn phone tweeting about nonsense.
Rotary died before cell phones.
Well, I'm glad you're talking Rotary, because I joined Rotary because I believe, you know how the Rotary, their first principle is it right? That's the fundamental question they ask. Isn't that a great premise? Like, is it the right thing to do? And I think I mentioned before when I was on your program, I think sometimes we overthink policy and governing, which is it the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? And then how do you get there? So for me, I think that communities and private industry can do a lot for people that need help, but I don't think it's enough on its own, especially when you're talking about public education and you're talking about. My mom taught 6th grade for 26 years. I used to put, almost 30. I used to put, the banners around the boards and staple everything on, and the alphabet. above.
When they do the
fall.
what was that? Cut
Yeah, all
they
that
make on the
crepe paper.
Yeah.
all that crepe paper crap.
Did you have to
Yeah.
cut it back then, or did it
I
come in a
did
roll?
it all. It would be hot August, getting ready for school to start. The new bulletin boards would be all up. So I lived as the son of a public grade school teacher. What that means, and I think that government has a legitimate role in ensuring that the system isn't equal all the time, but that if it's unequal, we need to look at why. And that's where I would argue, and maybe the libertarians, some of your audience would agree with me, our current capitalist system unconstrained, or a system that is too
When has our capitalist system been unconstrained?
Oh, you look at what Teddy Roosevelt did. Great Republican / independent president. What did he bust? He busted a lot of things because he
was
said
a progressive. He's the original progressive.
yes, but he's really a Republican. But
the Progressive
the trust
Party
busting-
started in the churches
but the
and
trust
went to the
busting
Republicans.
Was there for a reason. When a racket's a racket, we all know it. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
Let me say this. You're talking about how the government should step in and help and assist these programs. But, I'm in 100% agreement with you. Like, the school seems to be the central point where government has input. Now, I'm going to look at one program in specific here in Tooele, Meals on Wheels. Yeah. Okay, now they're always at the county meeting saying, hey, can somebody please donate some time and help us out? We're struggling. Meals on Wheels. This is a program to help elderly
homebound.
Eat.
Yeah.
I think it's an important program. I want to have them on the show sooner or later. But I specifically asked them, now, why are you not in the schools trying to recruit our young high schoolers to come help on Meals on Wheels so that they can donate some time, learn from elders, and I think it would just help grow your what's the word I'm looking for, Jared? Come on. Your character.
Yeah.
Now,
and
now,
they're
now, hold
already
on.
in that prison anyway. It's not like they
No,
wouldn't mind
they're
a
not.
reprieve.
They're not. They can't do that. It's illegal for Meals on Wheels to go into our high school and say, hey, does anyone want to donate time? Now, that's kind of contradictory. We got two government programs that can't communicate with each other because of the government. Now, that's where we have to start ironing
No, that sounds
out.
like you just talked about the government.
Yeah, I know.
But again, I'm never going to say that the government only screws things up. It does enough, and I've lived through some of the screw ups.
Hold on,
the
hold
Iraq
on.
War.
Hold on. I want to find a success, a government success.
Yeah.
War. They're good at war. They
don't
can
think
win
the
a
government-
war.
A government
Social
success.
Security. How has Social Security?
Oh,
been-
the biggest
been-
Ponzi
been-
scheme ever that's going to fail. What is it? 2032 or 36? It's
Okay, so before
on schedule to fail
before
I retire. So
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to pay into it forever, and then what? Then I'm going to be left holding my balls. Yay!
Buy Bitcoin.
Doesn't matter if you buy Bitcoin; they tax
So
me before.
you would argue that Social Security was not a justified program to make sure.
No, it was
that
not.
Elderly
No, it was
people-
not. It would have been better handled by the states. Better yet, it would have been better handled on the county level.
So your argument always goes down to the lowest level.
It's someone I can talk to. Now, you and I were friends, so I can shoot you an email and say, "What the fuck, over?" But
The check's in the mail.
yeah, but what's going on there? I think it was the first lady that paid into Social Security. She paid in $7 and received. She paid into $7, retired, that month, and received something like and this was back then, back in
When
40
$7 meant something.
43, I think it was, or 44, and ended up receiving something like $60,000 over the rest of her life. Back then, which was a substantial amount of money.
Really, that much? Yeah, that's
a lot of money.
It is. Yeah.
So, but it's a Ponzi scheme. It's
Do you want to read
stripping.
the shirt? By the way, I got in. Read it to
I
your.
like it. Men in denim. Sorry, dyslexia.
And I'm in denim.
Built this land.
You're in denim.
Men in suits destroy it. Copy that. I agree. 100%.
So I'm down in Iron County in Cedar, and Lonnie White is running for state legislature down there. Good man, from the working class for the working classes is his thing.
is
Yes, read what Lonnie's standing up for. But there was a small business owner who did T-shirts next to the table. It's at Policy Kings, which is this beer thing down in Cedar. And I started to talk to him. Well, they're a brewery.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. If you've never been down there, they do good events down there. And so we're there. And he was born in Denver, married a Utah. They have 2 kids or something. Now they're in Enoch. And he and I started to talk. And he's kind of one of those voters that's very much open to any point. But when I saw this, I thought, actually, this is why I am proud to be a Democrat. I think that we Democrats have actually been trying for a long time to make sure that the little guy doesn't get stomped on. And I could give you other examples of that. But I think that where Trump spoke genuinely to past and former Democrats is that he said the system's rigged against you and that some of the trade deals have hurt you. And there's some truth to that.
Well,
the question is, did he prove over 3 years and 9 months that he's worth the office that Abraham Lincoln once sat in? We could talk about.
Let's not talk about the positivity of Lincoln because I'm going to piss off everybody if you get me talking about that sumbitch. I'm not a fan of him either. What was it? 113 newspaper editors thrown in prison?
Oh, yeah. He was all
habeas
about freedom.
corpus when he. Yeah, and we could talk about, but it depends on, do you trust the person with all that power?
I don't trust anybody with that power.
That's a consistent point of view.
Too much power in any one hand is too much.
He's handing it over.
because Ryan talked about it consistently too, which is that
We should take my mic away because I keep interrupting.
No. But Abe Lincoln, I would argue, made some hard decisions based on character and conscience, which is what I look for in the president of the United States. Is do they have the character and the conscience to make the hard calls? They may not always get them all right, but where are they coming from on that?
I like 2 presidents.
2 of all of them?
Yeah,
Okay, which 2?
Harding and Coolidge.
Yeah,
Don't know about Harding, but I
yeah,
like Coolidge.
yeah. I was gonna say, remind me of why I
For
should.
the same reason.
Yeah, which was what?
4/5 of everyone's problems would go away if you just sit down and shut up.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
Coolidge said that actually.
Yeah. Well, both
I'll
of
use that one
them.
on the campaign trail for the staff as well.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Well, let's see. I don't obey. Obviously, I don't follow what they do because I talk a lot. But no, I like them because the crash of what was it? The crash of 20 or 21.
Yeah, right before.
Coolidge sat his happy ass down. The government didn't get involved, and 6 months later, recovery's full.
Didn't Coolidge say though the government's business is business? Isn't that
No, the government business is not get involved with business.
But I think Coolidge is the one that said. Maybe I'm mixing it up, but I thought he said the government's business is business. So
I think
I'm not
it was
anti
to
I'm-
not get involved in business.
Okay, but I'm not anti-business. My younger brother's a small business owner, and he helps educate me about what is it like to keep people on the payroll. What is it like during COVID to have your business under threat? So I'm not a big government guy just to be a big. I think government should be limited as much as it can, but as effective as it needs to be. Right.
Well,
so limited as it can be, and as effective as it needs to be.
I like
Those
the-
are 2 kind of guiding principles for me.
I'd like the federal government to defend the land and to bolster the defense of property and rights. And then I'd like the states to deal with, and also the federal government to obviously deal with foreign trade. And then the states to deal with interstate trade and defend the rights. And then they can come down with these welfare policies. That way we have a melting pot that we can try.
So the Utah State Legislature in your model would be the font of wisdom on all policy.
They could
because that's what you're saying. You're saying
they
that,
wouldn't be
that, that an older white Mormon, disproportionately unrepresentative group, and I'm
Yeah.
not against any of those categories,
And that's
but that they would determine the laws disproportionately, and we're talking just Utah.
And
so
then
the
they
food
could-
tax. How did the food tax go?
and
down?
then they could fail. But maybe a state, say Idaho, which has similar demographics, could have a plan that succeeds. And Utah could say, holy shit, look at what they're doing. Let's see what we can pull in. But instead we got the federal government that they come up with the design. Fail or no fail, we get to eat it forever because they don't want to say that the party members that support it, because remember, all the best bills are bipartisan support. The Patriot Act is completely bipartisan, but right now there's not a Democrat or Republican that's going to say anything bad about it because that's saying something bad about their party because of previous members of their party.
It's 50 petri dishes versus 1 petri dish looking for a cure, and you're going to find a better probability with 50.
Yeah, I like the idea that some states are going to find better solutions, and you should learn. It's like internationally. I don't think we're.
What if a state wants to go full on Marxist or a state wants to go full on libertarian?
Well, you're starting to see.
They could try it out. We could see how it works, and then other states could say, "I like that. I don't
So
like
you
that."
block
I like
it up
that."
as states. I look at it as the
That's
will of
the
the
way
people.
we're designed.
Well, but I look at it as the will of the people.
But
The people determine
that's
who
because
represents
the federal
them.
government has taken over. They weren't designed that way. It's supposed to be those United States of America. That was the design. And up until the Reformation, that was the design.
Well, I mean, the Articles of Confederation, if you go all the way back, there was a failure of states to actually have a framework that would make minimal things
Well, that's
work.
fine. That's fine.
So the states' rights argument, I'm not talking Civil War, I'm talking before,
Oh, no.
didn't work out so
I-
well. If
I
you talk
agree.
common currency, so if you fast forward to where we are today, I trust the people. Let's put it that way. Whatever block we want to put people in, whether it's state level, county level, and in the district I'm running in, for your listeners, the district I'm running in, and I've got a great team, and we've got 120 volunteers, and we're fortunate to have that, is 14 counties, 10 full counties and 4 partial counties.
It's huge.
It's almost half the state geographically. So when I'm down in Milford where my parents grew up, or where I used to deer hunt as a kid, those conversations lead sometimes with, what's your position on guns? I joke with Ty that I was shooting a 22 before he, a tough Marine, was doing his thing.
Fake news.
But I talk guns. But if we're going to get into guns, let's move to...
Pull it a little closer.
Yeah, let's move to healthcare. This is even better. Let's move to healthcare. Let's move to, what are the issues that can bring us together, not just divide us up. And that's why I like this district. I don't know what Mr. Stewart's position is on CD2, because I don't think he's often in CD2. But I think that I like those boundaries, because if I'm only running in the liberal avenues of Salt Lake City, which are full of people that like to nod their heads up and down, and I love them.
They drool
but I'm saying
whatever.
I want to run in a district that represents the true diversity of America. So I'm not afraid to take arguments to libertarians.
I want to ask a couple questions about healthcare.
Yeah.
So 2 areas of healthcare has gotten cheaper and safer year after year. 2 procedures that happen a lot.
Breast implants?
And LASIK.
Those are the 2.
And the government touches them not.
Then
So
the
they-
moral of the story is
they
get your
get
breasts done before your eyes done, or what?
Free market works.
Sorry.
The free market works.
Yeah.
The government gets their dick beaters in it, and you get these crazy healthcare prices that shoot through the roof. And then the government says, well, we'll stick our dick beaters again. This time it'll fix it.
Well,
And then next year we'll stick them in again, just like they did with colleges. The government's got involved with colleges, and how's college now?
Not so good. But okay, let's all compare and contrast at 8:30. How do you get your health care? How do you get your health care? How do I get my health care? How do you get your health care? Actually, you start, Ty, because you're the socialist in the room. How do you get your health care?
Well, I completed a tour of duty in the U.S. military, and I was honorably discharged. I obtained my health care through the VA.
Okay.
Which is
Outstanding.
basically socialized medicine. Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're next. How do you get your health care?
Through my work.
So it's employer-based. Do you like
Mhm.
it?
I don't know. I don't use it much.
But you have it.
Yeah, I have
So
it.
it's part of the
My
deal.
boy got his teeth done with it.
So it's part of the deal, though. You get it hired, you get insurance with it. Okay. Where do you get yours?
So let me build on the
I could go
ties.
VA if I wanted,
Yeah.
but
Now,
I
I've got-
choose not to go to the VA because they ask you about the firearms you own and then what medication you're on. And then it has happened in the United States a few times in the last few years. That
You can withhold that information. I do.
firearms have been taken from veterans.
Now I have my health care through Blue Cross Blue Shield through my employer, who is happily received. This insurance is happily received through the VA when I go to the VA. We're privileged in Salt Lake City. We have a good VA. There's no doubt about the quality of our VA. It is amazing.
Yep, that's exactly what I know and I've heard.
But
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But you know what? What's the first thing they ask me for at the VA? My health insurance. So it's all a conglomeration. It's part socialized. It's part insurance. But everyone's reaching for money where they can get it in the healthcare industry. The biggest part about the healthcare industry that kind of irks me is if I want to be a doctor, I got to ask for a seat at the college. And there's only 80 of them in
Certificate of need.
some board somewhere in some higher place of the proletariat class is telling this college that they can have 80 seats for a doctor. And then after they graduate from that, then they have to get their internship. And if you can get your internship, good for you, and then hopefully you can become a doctor. But I really think the biggest problem with our medical care system is the fact that we're just not letting enough people achieve that certificate.
Yeah. That
Well,
could be.
and guess what I'm on? I'm on the individual market, which means every fall, Select Health sends me a packet and says you've got 10 days to decide.
And you got to read this.
Well, I used to have what a member of Congress, Mr. Stewart, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, whom we all love. They all get this platinum.
Did AOC? Hold on. Did AOC come
I shouldn't
out?
have mentioned because I knew it was.
Did she come out and say she supports Bernie Sanders during the convention, or
No,
is that
she gave a good speech.
okay? Because
See, Republicans just don't like the fact that we're the party of the future. We're younger, we're diverse, we're energetic. We look like America.
I don't know.
We're not the party of grievance.
All the
We're not the party
statistics
of
show.
grievance. No.
All the statistics show that this whatever generation is right now that's graduating high school are booming out. And
Gen Z,
yeah, Zoomers or whatever. That they're going libertarian or Republican. They're going conservative. Just like the hippies come out of.
My timeout potential bullshit calls here, but we'll come back to that.
But hey, I'm fine either way.
No, that's okay. Okay, but I want to go back to healthcare because you call out my bullshit, I'll call out your bullshit.
Okay.
Man, it may all be bullshit. It's all turtles all the way down.
Oh,
it's
you
all
better
bullshit
believe
anyway.
I'll call some bullshit.
So healthcare. I get that. Yeah, I get that every fall.
Yeah, it's the blue door.
So I get every fall that will you accept it or not? So I'm living what a lot of the voters in the district are living, which is, hey, I pay $505 give or take a month. I don't use it a lot, but at least there's something there. You know how many Americans are outside of this broken system right now? 27, 28 million real human beings have no real access.
So we're running about 10%.
Yes, it's a lot. It used
But
to
is
be
that
double
just counting
that.
adults, or is that
No, I
children
mean
also?
that's after the Affordable Care Act was passed. The numbers that seem to be most reliable is 23 million got in, 27, 28 were still left out. So before it was passed, about 20, you could argue 20%. 1 out of 5 people were not able to get into what is a very inefficient argument. You guys are libertarian. I talk to conservatives about healthcare because I say, to me, it's a right and wrong argument, but it's also an economic argument. We have an incredibly, as you pointed out, wasteful, inefficient healthcare system. So if you compare ours to Sweden or Norway, the percent of their national wealth they put toward their socialized medicine is multiples less. I mean, 5, 6,
Have
7
you ever
points less.
heard of Hans Hermann Hoppe?
No, sounds like a movie director.
If I remember, he is Swedish. Anyways, he makes an argument for it. He's a libertarian. He wrote a book,
Yeah.
an amazing book. It's called Democracy, the God That Failed. Should probably check it out one day. But anyways, he mentioned, I watched a talk he gave, and he mentioned if the United States went to socialized medicine, who would take the place of inventing new medicines for the world? And it's just a question he asked.
Because of the innovation in our system.
The innovation's all us. And the extra we pay pays for
Okay,
that.
you're right. And so I'll give Trump credit on he goes after drug prices.
Yes, he does.
And he's smart to do it because he knows that, to your point, there's the free rider issue of other governments and other people around the world who benefit from our incredibly high cost coverage and prescriptions for other off-label uses or for things that are not under patent or whatever. So Trump understands, I think, why healthcare is hitting people. It's we pay more, we have a lot of people out of the system, but the Republicans don't have a replacement while they're trying to take away. Chris Stewart has voted dozens and dozens of times to take away the Affordable Care Act. He wants to get this national suicide 3-digit line, and I support that. It's good that he's worked on getting the 3-digit 988 bill passed. He's working with a Marine that I know, Seth Moulton in Massachusetts, who's in Congress. But that doesn't excuse the long record on this, which is time after time, the Republicans have been trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. They say it's all these bad things. Truth is, it's quite popular right now. It's especially popular when a lot of people are losing their jobs, because if you lose your job, where do you get your health insurance? What's your option? VA?
It depends on what I get. Yeah,
So,
I could
you
go to the VA.
So,
I mean, if it's cancer, it's the hike in the woods, something like that. that, or I take all the money in my savings account and I
Spend it real
insert the
fast.
Las Vegas plan.
Spend it real
Now,
fast.
now, just so we're all aware,
Yeah.
when you go to the VA, now the only way it's really covered is if it was
Service related.
service related. Anything that so here's a little something to all you veterans out
So
there.
back to the
Make sure you document all of your injuries,
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
all of them.
Or get a combat action ribbon.
Even then,
Yeah.
if you don't document your injury, it's got to be specific somehow that they can relate back
How
to
do
your
you
injury.
tell that to a-
Otherwise, you pay for it.
How do you tell that to a 20-year-old Army guy? Comes out of the Army and
Yeah, interestingly enough, when I departed the Marine Corps, I lost my medical history, and it seems to be
Hold
completely
on.
unrecoverable.
hold on. Shocker.
Yeah, it's just gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. Somehow I lost my the dang college bill or whatever, the GI bill.
Yeah.
Who knows where that went? All right. Well,
Yeah, that does expire. Mine's about to expire.
no, I lost mine
You
while
lost
I
it.
was still in. I'm standing there in uniform. No DD-214 yet. What? We don't see any record of that. Oh, well.
When I first started using the post 9/11 GI Bill benefits, they still had me marked on active duty for some reason. So while they were paying the tuition for the school, I wasn't receiving the BAH for it, which ended up with the letter of 3 days to pay rent or quit, and it's like finally it all worked out. But
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fine. It's all that red tape. See, but the difference is, if it's more local, I know an office I can wander down and talk to.
Oh, I'm all for knocking on the door of your county.
See, I would like to see
commissioner.
medical ran on a local level. 'Cause-
Jared, I'll tell you guys about why I decided to run.
yeah,
When my uncle, who went to Vietnam, talked a little bit about this before, but there are a lot of reasons not to run for office. Trust me, I'm not a guy that woke up thinking I want to be in Congress.
well, you
every
don't
day of the
like
week.
coke and prostitutes. That's the
Cigars.
Vegas plan, by the way.
I don't like
Vegas plan
Hey,
is a heart
hey,
attack.
I don't like Washington. Let's put it that way. So, my uncle was a Green Beret, 2 tours in Vietnam, enlisted right out of high school. My mom's younger brother, and went to Vietnam, almost got killed. The knock on the door, literally, like you read about. They didn't know if he'd survive. But when he got back to Beaver County, he decided to do something for the county. And he became one of those county commissioners for 3 decades. And he was a Democrat. Well, he got elected in Beaver County despite being a Democrat, and used to be as red as it is now. Why? Because they knew him. And when I was down there, my aunt showed these ballots, and I hope our listeners will really focus on this. I want us to get back to a point where people would split the ticket, and it was considered to be...
Well, it was nice, but the Democrats have run to the large cities. They've run to keeping large cities happy. The Republicans tend to be more for the rural areas and kind of the in-betweens. But the Democrats, they have run all their policies,
There's some of that.
all
I
their
agree.
rhetoric has
Right.
run to the cities.
I think that
and then they're mentioning they want to do away with the what's a goddamn state voter thing? The Electoral College. They want to do away with that. So what? So now every policy I have is going to be dictated to me from
New York and L.A.
New York, L.A., Chicago, maybe Denver.
Is this tied to the fear of what Democrats will take away?
Well, that's what doing
Guns.
away with the Electoral Colleges. And yes, the Democrats, on a whole, want to eliminate.
Well, that guarantees their win.
Maybe they don't say eliminate gun rights. Maybe just restrict them down to where you can't own a Glock because Glock doesn't make a fucking 3-round magazine.
I think on the reforms that we need, I wouldn't start with the Electoral College. Where I would start with is money in the system. I mean, I keep on coming back to the way our laws are made is who's in the room. You go to D.C. and put lobbyists in a room like this. Guess who's not in the room? Your average person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tied to the rot of the system.
Well-
I have to raise money to run this race. Lori, our campaign manager, our whole team know how painful it is for me to accept that I have to ask people for money to try and take on Chris Stewart. Our system is failing over the rot of green. and who provides it, who gets their answers first. And I'll be honest with you, I said this down south. I feel different when I see a big donation come in, and I hate it. And I can see how it becomes the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think, the bills are going to be easier paid with that, or thank you, generous donor. But let me just one more point. What I say to our team is who we're really running for. And we've got an Amazon delivery driver that donates to us. We've got the $5 donation. We've got the what category, unemployed. And those are the people I think about, which is a lot of people are never donating because $50 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me right now, actually. So I drive a 17-year-old truck. You saw me pull it up. I don't have the money to buy a new Tacoma. I kind of wish I did. But I put $1,100 in that truck to go 4,000 miles in CD2. The joke is Mark Miller is a donor to our campaign, and I say now we're about even. He's quite generous, but I've paid it back in bills to his good team down there downtown. But money in the system is something that I think we should all come together on. That we shouldn't be a democracy that's defined by donation levels. And if any of your listeners want to find a reason to vote for me, and even if you don't, that's fine too, is I would work my ass off to get money out of the system, regardless of what the Supreme Court did in one decision with one Supreme Court Chief Justice. One guy decided that dark money, corporate money is okay.
Well, that's how all decisions go. Have you ever followed?
I'm just saying,
how did Obamacare get through?
Let's trust the people on some of this stuff.
That's how they all get through. I'm telling you, if you think the Supreme Court is, a judiciary that works for the people.
No, I'm not saying. I think it's actually
up in the night,
partisan now to a point of real.
It always has been. Why did FDR try up in the numbers?
Yeah, that's fair. But,
and I'm not a party guy.
I know.
I'm an anarchist. I stand on the outside and I look at y'all like, you guys are fucking ridiculous. You joined a church that licks assholes. You joined a church that licks between the pinky and the other toe. That's how I see it. I'm like, you guys are all ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't believe the Democrats get every issue right at all.
I think the Republicans
get issues right as best we can.
Get maybe 2 or 3 issues right. The Democrats might get 2. And
what are the 2 we get right? What are some of the areas you think we Democrats are okay in? I mean, what does a Democrat do that's not evil or not wrong?
I think they want to invest more in our society versus outer influences such as like wars in Iraq and stuff. Maybe.
Well, no, that's rhetoric. The party doesn't, though. The party's all on board with that. I mean, you got to get rid of Feinstein, Pelosi, Schumer.
You've been infected with communism.
That is a scary fucking thing.
Walk me through
the Democrats are knee deep in Marxism. Knee deep.
I'm going to defend my party valiantly in a room full of skeptics.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I would argue we're not a communist party.
Alexandria Ocasio, or that Ilhan Omar.
They're the boogie women that Republicans like to point to and say, "Be afraid."
Are they not Marxist? Scary.
Some of the rhetoric.
Are they not Marxist? Just straight up, they are fucking Marxist.
I'd like to ask them what they would define themselves as. I'm not.
Okay, first of all, I don't think either of them know the words that come out of your mouth, know what they mean. But if they were to break it down, first of all, they're 22. They might have got off their mommy's teat 6 months ago.
I think you're not giving them enough credit.
Okay, well,
they did make it to Congress. I will give them that credit. They're well spoken. They are very convincing to their audience. But
I think they reflect, though, a real part of our country, even younger than any of us, that feels the system is completely, entirely broken.
Now, granted, I agree with that.
Toward people who, I was down in Escalante, little town, and I was talking to a veteran who had served in the wars, and he's more libertarian than you, and said there's no more American dream. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. And I think that what our country's trying to deal with is, are we actually going to choose to come together or not? And I think it's a choice. So for me, I believe you have a choice, you have a choice, he has a choice, I have a choice of if I wake up on November 3rd or 4th and decide, you know what, I'm going to be part of trying to get us back together. Because unless we choose to do that, I think our country is quickly moving toward a very tough position. We're already in one.
Kael, the idea of coming together, I mean, the Germans came together during World War II. Doesn't mean it was right.
What was
Well,
it,
I would argue that
But they damn did come together.
1933
war,
they came
war,
together.
war tends to bring your people together. For
Well,
sure,
1933
but
they came together.
I don't want it to sound Pollyannish. I want it to be that I think there are some real divisions in our country that are incredibly destructive and dangerous, because who benefits from that? People around the world that love to see the American people get on Facebook, the far left, the far right.
I 100% agree with you.
So that
They do benefit.
we're undercutting our national interest, and I believe that when Americans chew each other up as a game, shame on us. It's on us. It's not that the Chinese or the Russians. Mr. Stewart always talks about China. Well, really what's going on is the Russians seem to want Donald Trump reelected, and that's pretty well established.
And
Why?
China does not.
Well, you're correct.
Is that correct?
And it's interesting because I think China wants stability, and what Trump represents is disruption. And I've worked with Chinese diplomats, and I got to know their worldview, which is when the Iraq War was going down, I was in New York representing us, and I had a Chinese colleague. In fact, I'll tell you a story. Well, maybe I can't tell you right now. I'll tell you next time.
Give me the moral of the story.
The moral of the story is that this Chinese diplomat, who now has a very senior job in the Chinese government, had a child in New York, and I asked him the question, and I'll tell you the rest of the story when we do this again. I said, what are you going to miss most about your time in the United States? And it's his answer that was incredible. And then I read the paper a year or two ago when all these trade wars are going on. I'm like, oh my God, that's what you did after? Because we started at the same level. And so I'm more hopeful that someone like him is in the system, because he understood us by living in one of our most dynamic cities. I think that the big problem in our country is if you or Ty only want to be in a bubble, or I only want to be in a bubble, which gets to why I love the district that I'm running in. When I'm down in rural Utah where my parents grew up, and my dad's a downwinder, right? That's the different news since we last talked. My dad got a letter from the Department of Justice which says, Dear Mr. Weston, you've now been officially declared, based on where you grew up, the cancer you have, that you are a downwinder. Your $50,000 tax-free check is coming in the mail, which is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, too bad that
he has
it's
cancer for it. But
spent on someone who...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I've lived in my own family story about when government can screw you, can kill you, can drop bombs in Nevada. And you know what they used to do? They used to be like, well, if the wind's blowing to California, nope. But if it's blowing toward those expendables in Utah, it's okay. So I'm running, think about the connection here. I'm running to sit in Congress with my dad having cancer, most likely from nuclear testing on the Nevada state line, when my dad and his younger sister used to wake up like, the lights, they could see him.
They'd see the horizon.
They could
light
see
up.
when they would flash off. So I'm not running in a theoretical. I'm definitely not treating it as a hobby. I'm running because I really am concerned about our country. I'm concerned about our state. I'm concerned about the breakdown in families over politics. I'm concerned about the petty bullshit that people throw at each other online. We are a great country, but we sure as hell aren't acting like one right now. And I'll tell you, I watched a bit of what my party did this week, and I felt pretty good. Overall, very proud about what we're trying to do, which is not to say we have all the answers, but there's a better way forward. The report card that you get when you're in government, I think, should be based on facts. Are we better off?
Can we get a report card on government?
Well,
Let's start there. But anyways,
Who would grade it?
Well, I think
they don't want me to grade it. I'd be that bastard teacher. I'd be that.
I just think when things are kind of not going so well, and I would argue.
Well, I'll tell you what I do.
Most
know.
Americans know that the denim jean wearing people like me. My first job was at Dairy Queen. I'll tell you something. You guys will get the preview. I'm debating Mr. Stewart on October 19th.
Okay, good.
And so
good.
Where at?
It's in a studio, but I would love to do it in here. So please reach out to him and say,
Oh,
Kael's
yeah.
not a jerk. He'd love to sit with a mask on, and you can sit in the corner. He can
Does-
drink.
do
He can
we-
drink water, and I'll drink beer. But let's have a debate in here. But that debate is the official one. when you're asked like to do a little bio and you get your photo there, they said, tell everyone a fun fact about yourself. Well, I mean, fun fact, right? I'm a pretty serious guy, but what I put in is that my first job was at Dairy Queen, and for 3 summers in a row I cleaned public toilets, because the job I'm sinking, there's going to be a hell of a lot of cleanup to do, and that's really what I want to bring into my mindset going in. Often I think as a writer and a teacher, I like that life. I like going to Smith's thinking I can do whatever I want. No one's going to come up to me and be like, "Are you that guy running for Congress?" But you know what? On November 3rd, I don't think any of us want to be a point where we look back and we say, we didn't do what you're doing through this podcast, having a conversation about important issues. Because I don't believe our country's going to get back to where we listen to each other if we don't actually choose to do that. And that's what 7 years and 2 wars taught me. When Ty was in Helmand, I was in both wars as a civilian State Department guy. But after the biggest battle of the Iraq War, we only had bad options. There were no good options. I mean, half the city was leveled. Hundreds of Marines were wounded or killed. Thousands of Iraqis were wounded or killed. Hundreds of thousands were displaced.
That we disrupted the Ba'athist Party. We kicked all their military.
Exactly.
Where were they going to go?
So what I'm saying is that we worked our way through least bad options to a point where I could say to the Iraqi leaders who were getting shot at and sniped because they worked with me, with a lot of corporals like Ty getting their heads blown off, or they would get the Marines through the side shot up above we had side SAPI plates, but there was a soft spot here, and so some of the guys I knew got shot through the side.
Or aim for the legs.
Or they'd put the fake IED on the road, the convoy would stop, the gunner on the top would be targeted, and we could spend a lot of time talking about the wars, but that experience taught me that I actually really care about what's going on with my neighbors. I don't care which party they are. And a friend of mine said to me, Kael, the problem is you're in love with your country. And I thought, that's actually really
the problem.
True. The problem is you're in love with your country, that it would be easier if I weren't. And that is true. Like when you represent your country for 11 years, it's like a love affair. It's very hard to
Why'd you end up leaving the State Department?
I was burned out. I wanted to return west, and I wanted to write a book. And I was done with, honestly, when I left Helmand, and Ty, you should talk about your experience there. I was done with war. I saw too many people get hurt and killed. Bill was a friend of mine who was killed right next to Ty, and I didn't know Ty at the time because Ty's a corporal. I'm working with General Nicholson at headquarters, but we're getting out a lot. And when Bill was killed, I remember when we put him in the C-130, and Ty was a rifleman, and I didn't know that till we're up at a bar with about 5 or 6 veterans in Logan, and another Army friend of mine said, you need to talk to this guy. And it was interesting because Ty then eventually told me how Bill was killed, and Bill's wife was pregnant with twins at the time. So why did I leave when I had really done a lot of time, and I probably could have done a lot that the state would have said, what do you want to do next? It's because I felt like I had done my dog years, and I miss the West. I like it out here. The quality of life is a lot better out here. I never thought I'd run for office. I haven't run for office since high school. I think I said that before. I ran in junior high and high school. I haven't woken up in 20 years thinking I want to be a member of Congress, but I guess it gets to what my friend said. I'm in love with our country, and I can't let go of that because I'm too concerned about where we are with that. We're doing ourselves in, and it's not one side that deserves all the blame, but we've got to do better, because if we don't, and if we treat it like a game, we'll all pay the price, and we are right now. I think there's so much disunity in we're not the United States of America, we are the disunited States of America.
I think there's 3 parties. I think there's Republicans and Democrats, and then there's political. I think the political class, when do you see them on one of those bills that matters, not, not sticking their hands in each other's pockets and signing it away?
Yeah.
I think the political class is a different animal.
Well, I think that
they're a different party from the rest of us. So while we're on the ground arguing red or blue or up or
they're
down,
all part of a racket.
But they're something different over there. And I think when you get in, they sit you in the back from it. Now, I will say AOC broke from that. I mean, she's got to have Pelosi's got to be working on some vodka-induced ulcers because of her. Seriously, because she's run Pelosi through the ringer.
Well,
She
I think
has.
I'm proud to be a Democrat because we've got some kick-ass women. You may not agree with everything they say and do, but they're tough, and I respect people who say, "Here's what we're for."
God, she couldn't find her ass with both hands if they were in her back pockets.
Let's just say I'm not here to talk about other candidates, but I respect.
She's not a candidate right now.
Well, I mean, politicians. I think that what our system needs to focus on is finding ways where common ground is in the mutual interest, and I think there are areas where.
But why is that common ground always found in the Patriot Act, where they strip away some of your amendments?
I've written about. You ought to read my Daily Beast when I wrote about Snowden. You know, I said I don't think he's a hero or a traitor. He's a guy that should have stayed in America and said, "This is why I did it," and take me to court. And we've talked about that.
Well, I think if Trump wants to drop a bombshell, if he wants to do a good thing, he needs to pardon Snowden.
I think Snowden's a
Ty,
hero.
you've read the book, so you ought to talk about this. But I
think Snowden's a
he's
hero.
traitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He come out and said, why is our national security state handed over to not just private contractors, but foreign contractors?
Yeah.
That's a scary fucking thing.
My beer sucks. I'm sorry, but this beer sucks compared to yours, Jared.
Well, this one does too. So
Just saying.
this is a very
You ought to
fruity.
put a label on the beer and sell it down the road.
Thinking about it, I like that. I like the.
It's got a strong taste. It's not for the weak.
Bold.
Kale, this is a podcast, not a bar.
Sort of. But no.
I don't know about that.
So before
you guys are all way ahead of me.
So before we round this out, okay, I've hit you hard. I know I have.
No.
But that's.
I've been through worse. Trust me.
If you're a Republican sitting in this room, I'd hit you hard too. I want you to tell all listeners, we don't have a lot left because
All four of them.
let's granted, we're in Tooele. We got 5.
I like it.
You lost.
We're in Tooele. And
The mighty 5 listeners. Thanks for
Tooele's
sticking
a
it
red
out.
state. But I want you right now, I want you just to, the flow of consciousness, why you're running against Stewart.
And what's the differences?
What do you want to What do you want to do? Now, granted, I know you. I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire. When you get in there, I'm gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Over. I'm gonna send you messages.
Hey,
did you hear what this asshole Democrat said?
I'll be
You
right
better
back in this room if I
straighten it
win. Let's have a gentleman's agreement over beer.
We'll try.
If I
another
win,
beer.
even by half a point or 1 point, because a lot of hard work by a lot of team members and our volunteers, the first thing I'll do is your podcast.
Good.
We'll come to you in Washington and actually have it in that congressional office. They're pretty snabby. I have to say.
But if you want, you'll get the exclusive post-election interview, which is you flipped an R+16. How did you do it, Mr. Weston? Why am I running? If I thought Chris Stewart was representing the people in this district effectively, fairly, as a congressman should, I wouldn't be running. I think he has been a drive-by, no-show, flyover candidate. And I don't just say that to put a dig in. I've spent 8 weeks with our team, particularly Ty a lot. He does the drones, I do the photos, going through this district. And I ask people, when's the last time you heard from your congressman? And it's usually not that recent. I also think he's a symptom and maybe even an instigator of that division we've talked about. I think he's ideological. I think he said Trump was like Mussolini and then wanted to pretend that he had never said that. Those are his words.
He did flip-flop, I give you that.
Those are
you
not
know
my
who loved
words.
Mussolini the most?
Hitler.
FDR.
Hitler loved him the most because Hitler.
FDR. Read what FDR wrote about Mussolini.
Okay. Well,
Oh, fuck, he loved Mussolini. He loved that power. Everyone wants that. The fascism was a dream, but everyone wanted that. You get into government,
I don't put me in the category of love and power. I at the end of the day, I'm a writer. I look at the world as a writer. It's why I like being here, is because these are details that actually matter. It's not canned. Most candidates would never sit in a room with anyone for 2 hours.
Oh, I know.
Because you know why? They'd be told, what if you say something? What if you say something? You're going to get nailed on something that you drank a beer in Mormon, Utah. Oh my God, it's going to be the end of the world. That's not why I'm running.
Can you change
back to your point though?
Can you change one thing for me?
Yeah.
That I can go in there and just vote one name and walk out?
In Congress?
No, in the goddamn booth where I've got to go through all the tick marks.
You want
Just-
one name or one?
I would
party?
go in and just vote for you. Fuck the rest.
You
of the
can do that.
Democrats.
It still count. It doesn't.
But I
doesn't-
think you can do
You can do
a
that.
one namer.
It's called
you just
an
have to go
undercount.
next.
It's an,
it's coming
it's
through
an
the mail
undercount. I think it's an undercount ballot where, if I get the term out, you can actually just vote for the person you want.
Yeah.
But I'm running because I care about the disunity, and I think he represents the disunity. I don't want to turn this into the political rap sheet of Chris Stewart. It's not fair. He's not in the room. I wish he were. But look at his record. If he talks about health care and has voted dozens and dozens of times to take away pre-existing conditions, health care that families depend upon, to me that's hurting people. It's not theoretical. It's actually hurting people. I also think that he's treats his job to be Trump's representative in Utah, not our representative in Washington. I think he doesn't want to debate me. I think that says a lot. I wish he had wanted to debate from June on, or even from this month on, because if someone listens to us for 2 hours and they choose Chris Stewart, great.
Now
That's what democracy should be.
Do you think he doesn't want to debate because he thinks he's got it locked up and he's?
That might be it, or it might be that he doesn't want to have a real discussion about.
Yeah.
Well, he is going to debate you in October, though. You said
Once.
Okay.
I think he might not want to debate there, but I think it's
Right.
the big one that
Well, let me see what I can do. I'm gonna push it. I mean,
I've written him a letter, and it's genuinely respectful, because my view is, to all of you listeners out there on podcasts, that will become 5,000 hopefully, it's a disservice to you if I didn't show up in this room,
Yeah.
because you need to hear unfiltered, in an unpredictable way, how I respond.
Jared's
And
unpredictable.
yeah, absolutely, and I learned some.
I have a
I have
question.
some images that are stained on my mind now, including the Burger King, the Burger King.
Hey, man, when you're struggling a growler out and you need to dig down, grab some inspiration, I mean, you can hop on there.
The last thing I need to think of is that in the Oval Office.
Okay, here's a question.
Jared, we got a listener question. If you
Oh,
look.
do we?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So this one touches on the medical side.
Yep.
You want to take it?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So we want to know about let's just put the abortion topic.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Kael stand on abortion? Not the Democratic Party, but where does Kael stand? on the
I
abortion
hate
topic?
when any life is taken too soon. And guess what? War taught me that. So, I write about it in my book that, I used to hunt and deer hunt, elk hunt, and loved using a gun, used to skin the animals. And after 7 years and 2 wars, I'm one of those guys that if I can prevent anything from dying, I try it. Because for me, when you see life, the possibility of life taken too soon, it's a tragedy. Mm-hmm. So that's the premise I start with. I do believe it's settled law. So that is not an issue where I want our country to get back in and say...
You know what it was settled on?
Well, but let me just say, I do not believe that our government should be opening up an issue that is going to further tear us apart. And that may be just based on my own view about the issues I want us to try and focus on. It may be my view that I think decisions like that need to be taken by the people who are closest to those decisions, not by, in your argument, a lot of old white guys in the state legislature. So that's where I would come on that. I don't follow party doctrine if it's just party doctrine. I'm an independent thinker. But I think what we want to do is get to the point where there isn't the need for abortions. There isn't that question of should I or shouldn't I, because you've got to get, sex education. You've got to get support, contraception. Those are the areas, I think, where you actually reduce it. And if you look at the European model, they're quite good at that. So why not have a healthier sex education policy or have contraception? And then you don't get to the point where a very personal decision is taken.
I like that. They also have topless women on commercials. I support that European model. Kael Weston, people, folks.
So contraception.
You know what Roe
in public
versus
areas.
Wade's.
Well, I think contraception is part of. I mean, what I like about some parts of the world is they're like, hey, we got to talk about this stuff. Let's not pretend it isn't there. Let's be adults about it as much as we can. And I don't
agree.
think I would ever say, parents need to be told how to have conversations with their kids or whatever. But you can't have a discussion about that question, abortion, without widening it to a lot of other things. But I'll tell you, I'll go back to what I said. 7 years and 2 wars taught me that life is a very special thing. Whether you're 95 and you've said, I've done it, I've lived a good life. I've got a 93-year-old Rotarian friend, John Zacchio, and I hope he'll listen to this. We're a team. He's the chairman of the board. Or if you're the 19-year-old corporal in a war zone that dies. Life is special. Life should not be taken for granted. But on that issue, it's settled law. And I believe that there's a reason it's settled law. And
You know what it was argued on?
Right to
Roe versus
yeah.
Wade. Do you know what the argument was on?
Well, it's a zone of it's privacy.
First Amendment. It was a First Amendment argument because politicians in Texas were getting involved
Yeah.
with medical issues.
Right. And again, to the point of the
So
question.
I don't think they ever argued abortion at all during Roe versus Wade. Matter of fact, the lady, what was her name? Something Roe. She has since come out against abortion. But it was an argument about whether politicians can know about it.
Well, but this is to the point of, and I'm glad that question came up, because if you're looking to elect someone to represent you, that may be your top issue, and it may be, for all the right reasons, your top issue. You extend out to a district of 720,000 people. There are a lot of issues that are important to a lot of people in that district. And I think it would be easy for any voter to say, you know what, that's my litmus test. I'll tell you some stories. When I was running to get the Democratic nomination, I got some of the very liberal people giving me their own litmus test. And I eventually I'd be like, if you're looking for me to tell you what you think you want to hear so that you'll support me, I'm not that candidate. If you're checking boxes in a phone call, sometimes what I'd say is, how much time do you have tomorrow? Let's talk for 30 minutes about that single issue. Because you know what? Governing is not sound bites. Governing is not simple answers to complex issues. What my time in government taught me is sometimes you only have bad options, and it's very complicated. COVID, I would argue, is in that category, and we haven't even hit on that. So if people are willing to have a discussion, a dialogue, I think you can move from the 1 or 2 areas or 3 areas that we may disagree to, you know what, there's maybe 4 or 5 that we see common ground with. That's the art of listening, and I think that's what our politics are missing, is it shouldn't be tribal. It shouldn't be, you're off on that one issue, therefore nothing else matters. That's not how you build a country that has like connections between different people. I don't want to live in a country where everyone nods their head up and down. I don't want to live in a state where everyone nods their head up and down. That's not what is the story of America. And I think, and maybe, I'll end with a little stump speech. The most rewarding part about running this year, when there's so much pain in our communities, is you do get people that reach out to you that are really one check away from losing their apartment. Or, I shop at Walmart because I like it and it's easy and it's diverse. I like going into a place where this middle-aged white guy is the minority, because we don't need more guys like me in government, except for me. I mean, based on my experience. But I mean, seriously, we've got enough of us.
Good answer.
But I want to represent the people that I'll never hear from. And when I got that donation from the Amazon delivery driver, or the people that say they're unemployed, that's who I want to work for. When I get the $2,800 max donation, my adrenaline goes up. It's like a high. And
Yeah.
I hate that. And that's what I'm fighting. I'm fighting that so that in the future I can say, American people, let me tell you what it's like when
Well, I
you're
don't want to
running.
argue against that, because that's someone who has, let's face it, a larger stake in the game. Politics doesn't affect the small guy, the guy who works at a factory.
Oh, it affects them the most.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
It affects,
absolutely.
It affects the business owner the most.
I would argue we'll have another session where we talk about labor law and what it meant, and we talked a little bit
Well,
about this
we
before.
talk about, okay, let's talk about
the little guy gets screwed. I'm
The
not,
little
I'm
guy
not
does,
anti-business,
but he does it through the business.
Who's
So-
commuting through Zoom to work every day through COVID? It's a very narrow part of our population.
That's right. I work in a factory,
Yeah.
but okay, so I have a 14% employment tax levied on me, correct? 14%. Technically, 7% comes from me and 7% comes from, the industry I work for. I work for a huge company.
Yeah.
Huge. One of the biggest on earth. How much of that 7% do you think my company actually pays? Or do you think there's just a 7% less they would pay me overall that goes into that?
I don't know. Half?
None. I guarantee that my company didn't factor in they would pay me this much, and then I guarantee they're just like, all right, we'll automatically shave 7% off and then tax and then levy
Put it
7
on the
more
consumer.
percent. It all comes to me
Yeah.
as the worker. I'll bet I pay half of my year in taxes. When you go sales tax, gas tax, tax on whatever
Well, and
else.
then we should look at, when that first tax cut came through, who did it benefited? It didn't benefit your average Joe and Jane or
Well, let's
Jose.
dig back to when the first tax came through.
Well,
If we're going to look at,
If we're
let's
gonna
let's go back to when the first tax came through. I mean, let's dig up Wilson, piss on his grave, flip his shit upside down, and bury the fucker again.
Tell me how you really feel, Joe.
Yeah, right. I don't want to hear about your take on Abe Lincoln because he's a Republican and I love him. So, but again, I think that the difference between
He's
me,
a rhino.
the difference
You
between
know
me
it.
and the incumbent is it's a real choice. 7
Yeah.
years and 2 wars gave me, I think, a real feeling for when our country's not doing so well, and I want our families and our neighborhoods not to get more divided between November 3rd and the next election. I think it's on us, though. I think it's on each of us to say we can be the bridge that isn't there right now. I'm also running because I do think that the system hurts the people that have the least buffer around them the most. I just, when COVID hit, everyone's talking about the front line being the grocery store workers and the warehouse workers and the truck drivers. Well, that's tied to a living wage. I'm willing to say to my neighbors, if you don't have health insurance, I care about that. I'm on the individual market. I'm one of those people that could get screwed year to year. So I want healthy neighbors. I want educated neighbors. I want a community that gives a shit about each other. And you know what? Right now, not enough of us give a shit about each other. And I'm going to end with the woman that walked in when we met, walking in.
Mhm.
What's her name?
Karyn, right?
Karyn. So Karyn seems to want to do something good. $250 for a needy child. That
She's an awesome lady.
yeah, that
She
for
has
me.
what?
She
30
did a fantastic opportunity for a business.
Mhm.
It succeeded. She wants to
jumped-
give back.
She
Yeah,
started a
I-
business. She's an awesome lady. We've had barbecues with her lots.
And
She's-
that, to me, is exactly what being a better neighbor means. It doesn't mean who you may vote for on November 3rd, because how we define ourselves is how we choose to define each other. I don't want to run on finger pointing, fear, hate, division, or grievance. And honestly, I'm proud that this week my party's trying to say, hey, we're far from perfect. We got a bunch of people that are controversial. We've got a guy that's getting up in age, and the prosecutor in chief is
getting up in age. might be,
but
or-
give us a chance. And so that's what I'm saying. Give us
That's right.
Dems a chance, and then boot us out if we don't. Give me a chance. If I don't represent people in this district well, fire me. Fire me in 2 years. Make it an 80% decision. Or I'll say, hey, you know what? I deserve to be fired because I
Well,
didn't represent you.
if you want to
There's
argue,
a big difference between me and Mr.
if you want
Stewart.
to argue about Biden, I mean the '94 crime bill, that's his in the Senate, and it's Republicans in the Congress,
Yeah, and I'm not here to talk about
and
other-
that's the one that has weighted adjustments. It has the 3 strikes you're out. I mean, if you want to argue, why does crack have a larger penalty than whatever sniffing cocaine?
Mandatory minimum.
That's Biden. He's the one who pushed it.
Yeah, and that's
going to
come up in the election, as it should.
I don't think we can blame Kael for Biden.
Yeah.
No, but I don't want to see. I want to convince Kael to pretend he's.
Let's just say that the Democrats still have Tulsi Gabbard, so
they do.
There may be a
They
saving
do.
grace somewhere there.
Of course, they run her out.
Well, I think she was spending so much time on Fox News, we weren't sure what job she wanted.
Well, no one else would have her.
No,
See,
and I think it's
and
good.
That's the problem.
I think it's good she went on.
Democrats
Fox News.
have said Fox News is bad,
And she's good. I think she's right to be on Fox
because
News.
she's
It's
on
like
Fox
Kael
News.
coming on Twilla Happy Hour.
No,
you're swimming upstream here, bro.
Well, but-
you're going to build your muscles.
Well, but,
that's the truth.
that is true. But guess where we put our first radio ads? Sean Hannity,
Nice.
Rush Limbaugh,
Yeah.
Beck. And guess what we're talking about on the radio? We'll send them to you. We'll get them to you.
Good. Yeah.
U.S. Postal System, U.S. Postal Service. Why? Because guess what? We all want our little blue mail truck delivering mail. And I believe.
Have you ever heard of Lysander Spooner?
Sounds like I should have.
Have you?
Name rings a bell, but
You should look him up.
Is he related to the Postal Service?
He started his own.
Huh.
Of course, he was a huge abolitionist, so no one liked him for that. Also, an anarchist. No one liked him for that. But yeah, he started his own, and the government stopped him. He made a more efficient postal service.
Well, and the government was wrong to, squash an entrepreneur like that. But let me just say that we're going to where voters that you wouldn't think would want to hear from a Democrat. My dad's a downwinder. Guess what issue is important to a lot of the rural part of the state? It's nuclear testing. We're talking about health care, and I'm not running a safe race to pussyfoot around tough issues. My view is I want to be on a podcast unscripted for 2 hours because voters deserve to hear me, not with someone telling me what to say. Ty and our team do not hand me memos that say, be aware of this trick question, or what if they ask you about abortion? What are you going to say?
Yeah, mostly I wave my arms around and make crazy faces at him when he's doing something with a microphone that,
He's pushed the
Tell
mic-
Jared his beer is good.
Yeah,
You push the microphone at his head every
when
few
the
minutes.
audio's not quite working. That's true, but I'm not running to reinforce the status quo BS that we've talked about, because what has the status quo done to people? It's hurt them. Like, it's hurting a lot of people right now, and it's not just Republicans that are hurting people. It is money in the system. It is poison in our politics. It's social media that is treated like a game. I don't like it when any of my neighbors are hurting. I don't care which party they're a part of or no party. If they're libertarian, if their
They're
kids,
just people.
they are. If their kids aren't getting school lunch, I care about that. Can we solve it all through the government? No. Should private and community groups help solve that? Absolutely. But I don't think it's good luck, you're on your own. I'm tired of like this mythology that we can all get through life on our own.
I
We
fear
can't.
that's what happened when when the states, because let's face it, welfare's ran by the states. It's bolstered by the feds. That's what's happened, because all the clubs that were like, okay, we used to have people that would join and pay dues and up with us. The feds stepped in. Also, that happened with Medicare when the state stepped in. Rotary clubs used to be where people bought their Medicare.
Yeah, they used to get
You
it.
They used to pay, what was it, on average, I think in the 30s, like $70 annually for medical coverage.
Correct. And now people are going bankrupt over medical costs. So if any of
So
your
the-
listeners are worried
And
about
that's since the
going
government
bankrupt
got
over,
involved.
yeah, but what I'm saying is it became a for-profit,
But government,
business.
it was for profit then as well.
but not in the same.
It was guaranteed profit then. But now, the government has never stepped into something and made it cheaper.
They protect the bigger companies so that they
It's
don't
not
have
even
competition.
about
though.
protection. It's about...
I'm going to throw the timeout bullshit card here every once in a while, which is the government has come in and said to corporations, you're not going to run kids to the ground in sweatshops in New York City. The government has come in on environmental things and said, just because you can frack left and right doesn't mean you're going to pollute that groundwater. Those are environmental regulations, and we can talk. We'll come back in 2 weeks or a month, whenever you want. I don't believe throwing all mud on government is fair. If you look at when people were getting screwed in sweatshops, no labor representation, no rules for 8 hours a day, our weekend.
It was a private guy who started that.
But what I'm saying is that government has to come in.
Henry Ford.
Republicans and Democratic presidents have all done sometimes the right thing, which is to say, time out. We've got to get to a better common good understanding. Ryan, and we talked about
it was
him.
already done by someone else.
Well, but
after it was established, OSHA steps in after child labor laws and safety had gone on 10 years on a downstroke. OSHA steps in and says, "Okay, now we're here. Look at all the good we did 10 years before we showed up." And then they had a spike in injuries, and then it continued on the same track.
Maybe if I could bring up a point which is very germane to now, which is what is government role, for example, in something like regulation of tech companies?
Yeah, we should talk about digital privacy.
You know, where are we going to draw the line with?
It's another show, I think.
Yeah,
Because that's a full topic.
opening up a whole can of worms here, but
That'd be a fun show.
yeah.
And I wouldn't get as drunk because I'm getting lively.
So, what's your final words? And we'll
Well, no, I actually,
pass it
Kael,
around. But
I'll be honest, I'd vote for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I consider you to be a friend in arms.
Yes.
Because what are we all fighting for? For better for people
Yeah.
that are people, period. Like, as I get older, I think, we're all kind of the same. We're all just trying to get through life. And that's no different
That's right.
which zip code. And life can nail you, and it can cut you off at the knees. And I don't think government's always the first or last answer on that. But I want to live in a community where we're not demeaning, diminishing, pointing fingers, saying they're different, be afraid of them. That's why I'm running. Because it's gotten to the point where fear of the other or pointing fingers is not getting us to, well, how do we solve problems? It's trying to say, these are the problems. This is why we should be divided. This is why you should be afraid. Our history is a history of a country that is inspirational in many ways. I mean, we've got a story that's the best story in the world. And I've lived it. And, I think one of the stories I like to say is when my dad was in Vietnam, I wasn't born yet. It was 1969. He was transferring a prisoner, and they were listening to the Apollo 11 mission in the background because they were trying to patch it in. And he said he looked down at Dragon Mountain. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And there was some indirect fire or something that he could see as they're transferring the prisoner. And I thought, my dad's in this goddamn unnecessary war called Vietnam with a lot of other people and a lot of Vietnamese people getting killed. We've got astronauts going up to the moon, and guess what? When they put that flag on the lunar surface, what did it say? We come in peace for all mankind. So what I'm running to do is to say, hey, we Americans actually got some of the big stuff right, which is it's aspirational. It's about all of us. When those astronauts got back down on planet Earth, they went on a world tour. Our government was smart enough to say, this is about all of us. I want to end with COVID, one point. I believe it's real.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's real. I believe it's killing
Has
people.
been since humans been alive.
Viruses have come around.
There's been a coronavirus.
But if there's
there.
one issue, though, you're right. But if there's one issue that should bring us together, it's a new virus that hits us all equally, whichever part of the world you're living in. If you're a poverty-stricken country in the Middle East or wherever, it's hitting all of us. And it should be an area that we do come together on and say, you know what, we should be mobilizing for the human interest. And Ty and I joke about it, but sometimes I wish I were an astronomist, not a wannabe politician, because when you look at the sky, it puts it all in perspective. And if you're ever thinking of what motivates me, in fact, I'll end with this: what's what's on my phone? The moon. And then what's my screensaver?
Earth from the moon.
Earthrise.
So you're.
This is like the ultimate.
What are you doing? What are you doing writing books about war being in the State Department? You should have been on Neil deGrasse Tyson's lap.
I should, and I'll tell you, if I win by 1 point, and I hope Mr. Stewart debates me in this room, because then I think I would win. I could get him in here for 2 hours, I'd win. I want I want to work those issues because that's what brings us together. It brings us together, like literally, it's like earthlings, and that matters.
So how about
we're too divided?
All right, I got something to say.
And then I'll take one-way trip to Mars.
So we got
See you
Space
guys
Force
next.
coming up, right?
Yeah.
Space Force is going to need some ambassadors when we start. I mean, we've seen the DOD releasing shit every day. My other show is all about this stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Was
So-
it about Space Force?
No, it's all about aliens and humana. But anyways,
Yeah. What is this contraption back there?
this is a straitjacket.
When he gets too riley.
Okay.
My sister throws that
gotta
on me
get a
when I
photo
get
of
out
you
of
guys,
hand.
So just keep on talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Anyways,
thought that might have been either.
so we got a
I'm
State
not sure what it
Department
was,
guy.
but you say it's a straitjacket.
yeah, we're gonna need
Multiple uses.
we're gonna need an ambassador.
To space?
Space Force
I'd take
ambassador.
it.
So someone's gonna have to get up there and talk to Gleep Glorp about, you know,
To Gleep Glor.
yeah, Gleep Glorp about whatever he's got going on, why the Ronald Reagan does this, you know, whatever. I mean, you guys are gonna have to, you know, exchange
You have to speak lizard man.
whatever ambassador.
Yeah, was that one of L. Ron Hubbard's characters? Or
Gleep Glorp? I don't know. That's something I bring up whenever I personalize the aliens. But yeah, so
Hey, guess where we're gonna have a meeting? We're gonna have a meeting with Dugway, I think.
nice.
And then we were in the West Desert, and one part of the due diligence of wanting to represent a district that's half the state is to go meet with our friends in this area. So I'll let you know when that happens.
I
and
worked at
maybe
Dugway
we'll-
for a spell.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll do another
That's
round.
where I started my career.
Was
Yeah.
it?
And I went on an Area 50. I went to the Area 51 They Can't Stop Us All thing.
What did you find there?
It was just a party in the desert. I got buzzed.
So anyway,
But
I this has been a great session too, round two, and we'll do.
I like it. You know, I know I went out of hand, and maybe
No.
we should control this a little more. But Dave's doesn't have his switch. Like, you know, I mean,
Hey, you're
There's some
real.
switches.
You're real. That's all I care about.
and
yeah, we'll bring another mic next time. Now that I know you got a.
I've got
mixing
more
board,
mics,
yeah.
so next time I'll set one up. I'll set one up, and I've even got those lapel mics.
Well,
So then
I
we
would
could
like-
put one on his collar, and he can't run away from it.
I'd like
passing
to
it over
do
to me.
digital Bitcoin. Ty, tell them about what we're doing on our website, and that we'll end it.
Oh, yeah,
You can
so,
talk about what you raised.
Yeah, man, I would have even maybe forgotten about that if you hadn't brought it up. But so we have the capacity to accept crypto donations now.
Oh,
And
Perfect.
yeah, I'll
that's pretty cool.
And your pro two-way. We just had Tusk on, TUSC, the Universal Settlement Coin.
Transaction coin or something. Yeah.
The Universal Settlement Coin. We had the one of the founders of that on, and that is specifically focused. They're targeting firearms manufacturers and dealers for their initiate rollout. Not rollout. They've been around for a while, but for like their big
is it
push.
literally called 2A coin or Second Amendment coin or something like
No,
that?
it's Tusk.
Tusk.
Oh, okay.
TUSC.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a spin-off coin in a aggregator for
There is-
different mining. It uses the Argon 2D hashing algorithm.
Pro-
something called
probably
Second Amendment coin or
the
something.
greatest Utah cryptocurrency mines are involved with this project.
Yes,
so
it's a
definitely
Utah
worth talking
coin.
to.
I haven't heard about this one. No.
TUSC.
I'm interested
Just
now,
jump
though.
on Facebook. Rob McNeely. Rob McNeely's kind of one of the founders, but it's completely dispersed from him. So he just gets to go out and cheerlead it. He doesn't even know who all does everything because they've made it so that it's so
No,
diverse.
his team is on the webpage. I know some of his team.
Some of them,
and a lot of them work
But
at Overstock.
Some of his,
Yeah, these projects are really community driven in a lot of
but
ways. So there
some
are
of them are in Vietnam, everywhere
Yeah.
else. But where they're focusing is on firearms right now because that's an industry that's kind of under attack. And so they're trying to give firearms the ability to have more
Avoid-
legitimate dealings without getting tossed out by the banks halfway
yeah.
through a deal. There's a lot of that going on.
I'd like to know more about that.
yeah,
And that's
it's
and
the
that's not a
payment
Democrat
processors
thing.
that-
I think that's an ideology in CEOs thing.
So you're saying the firearms companies are being prevented from doing business?
They
through-
get charged higher transaction fees. A lot of
PayPal
stuff.
won't talk to him, and those
PayPal
kind of
won't talk to
companies.
Bank of America has ditched firearm companies.
And it's not only just for firearms; it's for any kind of accessory.
That's right.
You know, even
Or-
just media.
Or
around.
just like the marijuana companies issues they had. You know.
So, yeah, let's talk about some of these issues going forward. But I did hopefully give a preview of why these issues are what I'm running on. But it's not that it's how I define them. This is based on listening to a lot of people. So, but I also will end with this. I don't think leaders should sometimes say, well, these are the most popular issues, and therefore we're going to move from identification of issues to persuasion. I think some of the best leaders that I've looked up to have said, hey, this is what we need to do to get to a better place, and it's the harder thing to do. But one of the principles I have on running for Congress is a simple question, which I'll come back to. So our listeners or anyone that hears me later on, and as our campaign maybe panics, I don't know exactly what I've said tonight, but I think overall it's okay.
Drink some more beer. Come on, you got to finish.
Is the question's going to be, in my mind, whatever piece of legislation, is it the right thing to do? And that's where we confuse what's going on in our government. You know that in all of our lives, it's not that hard to sort of figure out what's the right thing to do, and it's probably the harder thing to do, or what's the wrong thing to do, and it's usually the easier thing to do. Mm-hmm. The hard right is really what I'm focused on. So if it's all a Republican plan, but it's the right thing to do, I would have no problem getting outside the Democratic lane and saying, I believe this is in the right interest for the American people or for Utahns in my district. And I don't care which party labels on that. Like I've said, after 7 years and 2 wars, I've done a lot harder than this, but this is one of the most important things I'm doing. So that's why I'm on your show, because I think politicians suck when they hide from voters. I think they suck when they actually act like they can get away with one debate on October 19th. I've been wanting to debate Chris Stewart anywhere he wants to since June.
I know, we were there when you thrown the call out.
So, it's his call not to, but it's not that he's hiding from me. He's hiding from the voter. I'm fine if people hear both of our points of view and our backgrounds and and then if they choose him, I'm okay with that.
It may be he just feels he only stands to lose in a debate.
You said it, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You might discover you have more in common than you think, Kael.
Well, I think most people do. I think.
Well,
here's the thing about Democrats and Republicans. I'm a Bears fan, right? What's your favorite team? Probably Denver Donkeys. Anyhow, Giants. I'm going to throw a guess out. 49ers, age-wise. Right?
I was going to say maybe Green Bay, but...
Oh, Green Bay.
Really?
Oh, you're a little younger than I'm used to. Sorry. I apologize, good sir. Anyways.
I've been at Denver Stadium.
So I've driven by it.
That's
anyway, so
cool.
we're all different fans, but we selected a team.
Steelers are pretty cool.
Yeah, Okay. Let's throw out a number. 1981, who was the quarterback?
In Denver? I don't know.
What was their
I was
plays?
like 4 years old.
Okay. All right. Let's go 2 years ago. Who was, well, not 2 years ago. That's too soon because, but what was their plays? What was their strong go-to play?
So you're taking this analogy
on
to
the third down within 30 yards.
I used to collect
you don't know any
pencils. You know the pencils? Did you collect
That's
them?
where I got the Bears number
Okay,
at. See,
right.
you and me, we're running
Yeah.
about the same age,
Yeah,
standing at the
yeah.
bus stop, checking them out with the kids.
Oh, yeah. I was dumpster diving for pencils, even broken ones.
Shit.
Were you?
That was, man.
Yeah.
The pencils back then, we're talking.
What were your favorite ones? I wish I still had my pencil collection.
Yeah, well,
They were football pencils.
you have to go with 1984 or 85, 86 Bears. You have
Is
to.
this what people did for fun in the early 80s?
Dude, you don't want to know.
I was
what
like
else we
10
did.
years old, but I dumpster dived.
Yeah, I was the same. I don't know. How old are you?
48.
48. I'm 45.
Okay,
We're the same.
Yeah.
We're at the same bus stop. We're
Yeah.
my buddy next to me. We're showing off
Yeah.
pencils. That's what we did.
Yeah.
It was pencils back then.
It was.
You
Yeah.
never sharpened them.
Yep.
You just carried them around in your pocket.
And the edges around the
Yeah. until that
had the bigger
orange
eraser?
sea worn out. But anyway, so I think politics, or a lot of people choose a team, they don't understand what that team's about.
That's
Now,
true.
I'm not a big fan of democracy.
I could never say that because I don't believe that. But why aren't you a fan of democracy?
Well, how else is 51% going to subjugate 49% to their wins?
we need to I'd like to talk to you more about this consistent view that you and others have about
That's democracy.
Fearing direct involvement.
Okay, so you're a lover of a democratic republic.
I trust the people. Let's put it that way.
I like constitutional monarchies the best.
Interesting.
There's someone to hang when they fuck it up. That's why I like it. The guillotine waits for monarchs.
That's actually pretty well put. I'm not saying we go back
Some
to
sort of
monarchs have a stake in the game.
A monarchy,
A
but
president that hangs out 8 years, it doesn't matter what he does. He can walk away from a fucking dumpster fire and, hey, it's all good. I did my 8, whatever.
that's a legitimate point.
Where's the
ultimate accountability?
Where a monarch,
which is,
that's his. He owns that shit until he hands it off to his fucking kid.
I suppose if you could get rid of the whole dynasty aspect of it, maybe.
I say keep the dynasty going because he gives a shit about his kid too, and his grandkids. He's got a stake in the game where politicians right now have no stake.
I agree, and I saw that in the wars.
And then those motherfuckers get out, and they still get all those benefits.
Not only that,
they
get out and make millions of dollars doing
shit.
What? Lobbying.
Even if they don't,
the same things that they were voting on before.
Even if they don't lobby, they carry that health insurance on the backs of those people.
I'll tell you and your listeners something. I have no retirement. I cashed out my State Department retirement to pay a mortgage, and it was pretty scary when I did it. I paid a 20% fine, and
should have bought a new Toyota.
Well, I did, but I feel like we don't have politicians who are representative truly of people, and I think we'll probably put more out about this because when you run for Congress, you have to have a House ethics filing, and you actually have to say what is your worth. Where do you have? I don't own any stocks.
No,
not that I wish I had.
So yours was easy.
It was very easy, but I want our system to
have some Birkenstocks.
Hey, I always say buy Bitcoin. Nobody needs to know anything.
Well,
but no,
I like your Bitcoin shirt.
Dude, I dig it. And we do need to have Bitcoin show. You're welcome on here anytime. You can call. We'll put you on that week.
Well, we'll when we get out to Dugway, what we'll do is we'll do Dugway and then circle back because I enjoy this.
So who's your contact at Dugway, if I may ask?
Well, I wrote 2 letters. One was to the technical guy that does the briefings for the state legislature, Gibbet, and then I wrote one to who I thought was the commander, but I was told that he had transferred out. So now we're
every 2 years.
Yeah, but I thought I had the current name.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it to Hoskins, and it's not Hoskins. It's whoever replaced him. But they are looking at the request, and I gave them a little bit of background on that I had all those clearances.
So what were you trying to do in Dugway? Just have
understand.
Just talk to the people, find out what they
understand. Like they do an outreach to the state legislature, and since Salt Lake City is smack dab in the middle of the district, there's 2 reasons. One, I just want to get smart on what's going on out here.
The mission out there is
Have you ever been to Dugway?
No.
Oh, you got to get the tour. They'll give you a whole tour in the chem lab,
if you know,
the bio lab.
Tell them it's in their interest to do it because what I should say is Chris Stewart's pulling between 38 and 44%. So the odds are, I bet we're about in the 40s each. I don't know if that's going to hold true.
Dugway is so
but
far.
I mean, it's in their interest that we start a conversation.
I don't think Dugway knows that there's a president. That place is such a fucking out there place, dude.
It's wild.
Yeah, tell me more about.
We got some stories off the air. I got some stories for you.
All right, but then the other thing is the tests, the West Desert tests.
And don't forget Tooele Army Depot. You definitely have to get a tour of Tooele Army Depot. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that because we could do it all together.
Yeah, it seems like Area 51 is the real red herring to
Area 51
actually going on.
Area 51 is the name they put out so you don't look at fucking Dugway.
Yeah,
that's quotable. But it's beyond Dugway.
Push it over to him.
It's beyond Dugway.
You got Lakeside.
So, yeah, well, we were in Callio. So I'm the candidate who traveled to Callio.
You drove all through 6 houses?
Well,
Callio goes like this, and then you're out.
Yeah, and
there's a dip in the middle.
That's what cost me my truck repairs round 1. But
fuck.
So Annette's out there. There was that dip. And
that dip will wreck your truck.
I'll tell you, ever since that trip, I've been putting $300-400 every time I take it. Thank you, Mark Miller, for your donation, but we're no longer.
How about he just donate work?
Huh?
Just keep it simple. I donate.
I hate the whole
3
funding system
shots.
anyway. So anyway, we were down.
In-kind donations are hard to keep track of.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So we
You
were
got
out
a
there.
yellow pad. That's legal. It's yellow. It's
These-
legal.
I brought this because this is the Ryan Bundy pad. So this is what I'll bring
Dude.
next time. Look at all the notes.
I would like to have a chat with that cat. I love what he
He's
did.
consistent.
I love what he did down. What happened down there?
You love what he did in terms of insurrection.
Okay, yeah.
I do not.
Let's face
favor
it down.
Insurrection.
Let's face it down. The BLM were criminal in the operations they
And
ran.
the judge found that to be true.
And
Actually. And I
those
mentioned
people
that-
stood up and they
Tyler,
made
I
a.
mentioned that to him. I said the judge backed you up when the snipers were around their
Mhm.
ranch. So when I'm down in
Imagine
Cedar in 2
if
weeks,
the rest of those goddamn hardcore motherfuckers didn't show up there. The Bundys would have all had. They would all been vented. Just like the Weavers up in Ruby Ridge, where they shot a goddamn mother out from under the infant she was holding. I want you to think about that. That was feds who did that. That was people who get their fucking marching orders from goddamn 1,000 miles away who did that. Not
which
people
are on the streets of American cities right now, Portland.
right now. And why are they there? Because that goddamn, I'll say it right now, that motherfucker who runs fucking Oregon and the motherfucker who runs Portland, those fuckers should be tarred and feathered because they aren't protecting the property of their citizens.
We will continue to talk about these issues because we'll meet after a bit. We're going down south to meet with Ryan, and I want to meet with him. He invited me actually, and I think I'm not seeking his endorsement, but I think it's important that we talk to each other because, like I said, in a room of Fallujahs after the biggest battle of the Iraq War, or former Taliban fighters in Host Province, my job was to say, drop your AK-47s, come to the table. Let's figure out a way.
You can have
where
one
it does-
AK-47, one magazine full of ammo per household, and
No more than 10 rounds.
was it
10
no more
rounds.
than 10? I thought it.
It was.
I thought it was
generous.
a 30-round magazine. They could have one 30-round magazine, one AK-47 per household, because it was that Army unit who used that very AK that was allotted to that family to rape that fucking daughter. Where was that? That was in.
Kandahar, I think.
Was it in Kandahar?
Oh, that probably happened.
Or was it in
Oh, there
Helmand?
was that. No,
No, it
was
wasn't.
horrible cases like that.
Yeah, it was
but-
horrible. And it was horrible because
Well, and
there
we
are
could talk about-
sociopaths
we
in
could-
the military,
Of course.
and there are sociopaths everywhere. I probably work with 3 or 4 of them. I mean, I probably joined 3 or 4 of them like myself at my work. But they're there. But sometimes you put them in a situation where they can use that sociopathy to their horrible advantage. And every once in a while, you'll put 5 of them or 3 out of the 5 on the same patrol.
Well, and I teach Marines about ethics in battle, and again, what is it to be a civilian when the Marine Corps arrives in your village? And usually when I was in Fallujah, and, I was younger, but we talked about Red Dawn, and some of the corporals and sergeants that I got to know well. I was 6 years old and they were 8 years, and they'd come up to me like, "Hey, sir, I think I now understand what you mean by Red Dawn, and we're not the Wolverines." Like we were jumping in on their playgrounds, and then the Marines would be like,
You're the Cubans.
Yeah, well, right.
Or the new ones, you're the North Koreans.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
So
have you seen the original Red?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
good
original
man.
ones. Yeah, the original
The
ones.
good one.
Yeah, the good one. And so, they would get that, if the, Iraqi army arrived in Tooele, how long before they would be like, I don't quite like this military presence in my hometown,
This job sucks. I should have stayed at the factory. I know they didn't let me wear blue jeans, but fuck.
But I'll end with saying thank you, and Ty, if you want to say anything. But I think we only come together where we need to if we spend time with each other. I don't believe that policy gets fixed if we stay in our safe zones and we talk to people who agree with us. I don't want to live in a society where we're all the same or where we all think we have all the answers, because that's not life and that's not government. And I think that a lot of people are hurting right now. So COVID, the economy, there's a lot of uncertainty in the air, mental health, people going bankrupt over healthcare costs. I'm running to fight for the people that will have never donated to me because I hate the model. I hate the system. But I need to work the system.
I'm
get
going to
there.
vote for you, but I'd like it more if you said, I'm running to go there, occupy a fucking seat and not do a goddamn thing.
Tell the truth.
See, that'd be. Oh, you could tell dirty
That
jokes
would be
up
the
there,
truth.
dude. I want to see someone filibuster and read from one of those Harlequin.
Shut it all down.
One of those Harlequin porno romance. His bare chest and throbbing member.
That was just
get
Atlas
up there.
Shrugged all day and all night.
No. That has substance.
We'll have you come to Washington,
Dude.
and you can be the honorary congressman.
Dude,
for a
let
day.
me hop in. I will all day long. I'll wear one of them fucking catheters, so I'm pissing in a bag in my boot, and I will just read the.
What's your last name?
Anderson.
Anderson.
The-
Mr. Anderson goes to Washington.
Dude, I will read the worst.
Fabio's red hair
Dude,
flowing in the wind.
there will be Fabio on the front, chest, a fucking horse under him and shit, hair all and I will read that. 12, and I'm not a good reader, so I might make it to page like 15. But anyways, I will sit and read that shit, and I'll be like, yeah, dude,
You'll be the filibuster king. Filibuster Fabio.
See, I believe that whenever the government, I don't believe. My witness has been that whenever the government gets involved, things tend to get worse. Because when they got involved with colleges have gotten more expensive. Everyone can go now. But of course the degrees they're giving are, lesbian dance theory studies. Okay. And then people are demanding, why aren't I making $120K a year off my lesbian dance theory studies degree?
There's a market for that.
I've got a
AOC made it.
I've got a fucking doctorate in it. She studied economics.
I think we got a dog wanting to come.
Yeah, that's my dog. You can go ahead and let her in. Just open the door.
But we'll continue the conversation.
But yeah,
I am though like.
I know it's the manliest dog y'all have ever seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say for such a tough guy. What's the dog's name?
His name's Dozer.
Dozer, like a little big Dozer.
She's a young lady. She's about 1.5 years old. She's full grown.
It's got a lot of personality. Wow.
Oh, she does.
She likes
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, she does.
How many dogs do you have? Is this? You have some in the back.
Well, I have 2 out back.
Is it Siberian out there?
I don't know what it is.
Malamute.
It's a babysitter. If you guys need a dog, I have a dog that goes to a good home. And then I've got my brother's dog, who's 130-year-old Labrador.
Wow.
I'm a dog sitter right now. It's all good. I enjoy the prospects of it. I like dogs. That's the only one that's mine.
I was gonna say she's a jumper too.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll do it again, but
Definitely.
I think you guys are doing something important, which is you're bringing in people and having.
After you win,
This is like community. Like for me,
it is.
What we lost when we all got addicted to our screens is the art of conversation, and that's the best thing. And beer and good homemade beer.
Oh,
Oh my God, it was good.
Was
I
it
didn't
a good
realize
beer?
how
Do you
good
guys
it was
like
until
it?
I had this.
I liked it. I'm not a huge.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was really good.
Good.
He's
Well,
more of a beer guy.
next time you guys come back, or let's just schedule a meetup. Doesn't have to be on the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I've got my my lemon drop saison downstairs. I'll be bottling that this weekend, so in 2 weeks it'll be ready to go. I can bring some to wherever you are too.
Yeah,
Just
we're
bullshit.
going to be back in Tooele. Doug Way, I'd like to do the Army Depot. So
I'll reach
email
out to our
me.
PR person and get you guys talking.
yeah, and then just email me who you think we should be in touch with. But I think my view is you got to do the due diligence, and I don't walk into a room ever assuming that anyone's going to say something that I already know. Most people, you get to know them, and you hear a lot of things that teach you a lot, and that's why when I'm dealing with people in Salt Lake, I say, yeah, when I'm in Delta or I'm in rural Utah, they're just like the rest. Everyone's the same. We're all just trying to get through week to week, month to month, have a job, pay your bills, not go broke, not have cancer hit you and your family, and then make it. Then that's what I think. That's what I think we've lost sight
We
of.
all
is
want a
that
full belly, a warm bed,
it's
soft pillow.
it's what we've been trying to do, and we haven't always done it well. And I'm tired of the hate and the division. It's
Yeah,
just,
you and me both.
It's wrong.
Well, you just make me one promise.
Yep.
This is a promise. I think you can get.
I already made
behind.
one that you're going to be on the floor reading.
Oh yeah,
Fabio.
dude, I've got to start digging up the hottest. I might even have to go like gay for this level. But anyways, I want
He's going to
one.
be dating AOC by the end of this.
Yeah. See,
Hey, I'll say it. She's hot, dude. But anyways,
see, that's the thing that Republicans don't like is we Democrats have the women that get shit done.
I don't know. What about Trump's press secretary?
Yeah, I don't know what
Oh,
she does, but
She's hot. She's a viper, dude. I would. Anyways, you throw a pretty lady at me with big eyes, I lose all
You're
my
done.
shit. Anyhow, let's throw this down. Wrestle the ability for the president to declare war away from that fucking desk.
That's a promise.
That's all I want.
Hey,
Dude, if
Jared,
you do that,
you hit one of the big issues I
That's
should have
the-
led with.
that's the
which
only
is
issue I give a
which
sh-
is the AUMF, the Authorization for the Use of Military Force.
Yep.
It's about 48 words.
wrestle that
I
away.
have my students read
Nixon
it.
got it wrestled in. Reagan was the one who first practiced
And guess
it.
what? This commander-in-chief has proven why we need to wrestle it away.
No, the last one proved it.
Well, I'll
The
tell
last
you.
one proved it over and over.
George Bush
we
proved
went
it
from
And GW.
GW went 2 wars. Obama went
Jared,
5 more.
Jared, I agree that the imbalance right now between
And I don't care party. I don't give a shit. We could have a Republican in there. I don't give a fuck. Take it away from that goddamn desk. I don't like orders that affect a whole nation coming from
One person.
one motherfucking
Yeah.
desk. Unless
Here,
he
here.
wants to be a constitutional monarch and let me build my guillotine. Now, let me ask you a question.
I
now,
like
let's
the
say
consistency.
I want to build a model
argument.
guillotine right here, about
I'll
yonder
tell
tall.
you, libertarians have consistency. I don't agree with sort of some of the
Yeah,
framing, but you're consistent
Yeah,
in your
we'll
anarchy.
bring you
Let's
around.
put
You
it
got to
that
get
way.
smarter. We got to teach you the stuff. Anyway, so I want to build
I'm
a
running on
guillotine.
the anarchist ticket. I don't think so.
Save the guillotine for the next show.
I think
Gary.
carbon fiber for the blade way. Yeah.
It's
Something
gotta be
environmental.
Heavy. It's got to be heavy because here's what I want to
Well,
do.
not the blade, but the blade way.
Oh
If
yeah,
it's,
so
if it's
nice
wood, it
smooth
warps.
run.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice smooth run. But I want to build a model guillotine. And while I talk to politicians, I want to cut my salad, my carrots and broccoli, and just slide it through and shunk, and then pull it back up. Oh really?
Actually,
Oh
I think
yeah.
that would be pretty
Oh
healthy
yeah.
for our
And
system.
hit the lock on. Oh
Would you mind putting your pinky in there?
You
now?
said you want to do what? Shunk, and a little piece of carrot falls into a basket. That I take the basket, put it on my salad, and then I pull the
Sound a little
blade back up.
tyrannical there,
Yeah,
Jared.
yeah.
No,
Just saying.
anti-tyrannical. Remember
That's what
that.
they
I
all
think
say.
you'd get their attention. Then you'd say, "Could you put your little pinky finger?"
Well, no, I don't want to cause any violence. I just want to show them that I have built a guillotin and I've made the blueprints.
You're anti-fascist. I got it, Garrett or Jared. I get it.
Fascism is. It's a confused
But
word.
what you are is you're vigilant, and that's important. You're vigilant about, and I respect that. Like what I don't like is when people just are like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't care." Like I may not agree with a lot or everything you're saying, but I've learned that. Same thing
believe-
with Mr. Bundy. There's a lot we don't disagree on, but there's a consistency in the way you've communicated how you view governing, and that's what's important for me to hear. Because if I am in government, I want to have these conversations, not say, "Oh, you libertarians, you're living in whatever land." That's not how we get to a better place.
Well, you're concerned about minorities, right?
I'm concerned about what I'm most concerned about is the people that are struggling the most in whatever category, in whatever way. Because
What is the smallest minority?
the smallest minority?
What's the minorist
Single
of the
individuals.
minorities?
Midgets?
Me,
Yeah,
the
single
individual.
Yeah.
Ayn Rand made that fucking clear. I am the most of the minority. I am me. I'm an individual. Don't hurt me and don't take my stuff. It's simple. That's the way we should
Correct.
all live
And
life.
if you want to hurt someone else and take their stuff, guess what? There's a referee that's going to be involved.
That's
because
right.
Your ability to take other people's stuff or to hurt someone doesn't supersede a functioning. If you want to live up on the top of this mountain over
Pull it
here, live up there And
I'm just going to give you a stick. You'll be a boom mic guy.
yeah, yeah.
Either that or follow him around.
We're just going to get him a lapel
But-
mic, and he'll just wander and mumble to himself.
Well, see,
Wireless.
I'm getting ready for debate night.
I
I'm
got
starting
some.
to work out, so I'm a little bit like my back's all kinked. But at the end of the day, if people want to live up in the forest on their own, I love that. If I could live anywhere, I'd be at 10,000 feet from May to October. But once you choose to come into a
From May
community,
to October,
yeah,
I like
once you come into
After that,
it's a bit
questionable.
Well, yeah, exactly. Once you come into a community, guess what? We haven't talked COVID. We would be negligent if we didn't talk COVID. I think it's good that Smith says to people, if you're going to come shop in our stores, you're going to put a mask on.
Private company. I believe
Correct,
they
it's
should have the
private,
right to do
but
everything they
more
want.
than that, it's right for their employees. It's right for the person that works 8 hours a day with having probably no one maybe that has COVID, but if that one person comes in, coughs in their face, I'm sorry, your right to not wear a mask does not supersede public health.
That's
if you
right.
want to go live out in the West Desert near Callio, go for it. You guys can build a fort out there. You can put a wall around it. Can have a moat. I don't care. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about anyone.
I do know a guy that lives in Grantsville that has a moat around his house.
Really, I'd like to meet that guy. Does he really?
Uh,
Like a
we'll-
real
we'll
moat?
chat-
Like
we'll
a real moat?
Dude, we will chat off air.
Next podcast.
Like with crocodiles? And
No, we
stuff?
got to chat off air. If he could get crocodiles and they would last through the winter, he would. I will tell you. Dude, you're
Can we go check it out? I want to see this place.
Sounds like a
Or will
podcast.
he
We'll talk
shoot-
off air.
he'll shoot us.
We'll talk off air. We'll talk. You remember your uncle?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Well, Ty, did you want to say anything in closing, like on Bitcoin or on mention more about why?
Yeah. Let's.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll.
I dig the Bitcoin thing. I love it.
Yeah,
it's
so-
actually, we're the first, I think, to do it.
Well,
That's
I
because you
think
got
this-
a young guy in there. You don't
Yeah.
have, dude. I mean,
We've got
where's
a lot
his suit? What kind of campaign manager do you got that's not wearing a suit, that doesn't get paid by Raytheon, that
We're
doesn't have like a
campaign.
mile of molested children in their background?
I never wear a suit.
I've got some skeletons in my closet, but
Ooh.
no, anyway.
Jeez, Ty, please confess.
Yeah, but it
Before I
doesn't.
go-
What's the line?
Explodes.
Yeah, nothing to really confess here, but
Confessor.
we all have our checkered pass. But,
Yeah.
But no, we have the ability to accept crypto donations now, and I'll just kind of describe briefly what we kind of went through in order to get that in place. The facilities are pretty easy. Unfortunately, it's not just as simple as putting an address out there and saying, "Hey, you can donate your Bitcoin." But what the process that is required of us to do in order to maintain transparency and accountability for the FEC is we need to vet any donor to ensure that they are a U.S. citizen, that they're not a federal contractor, and that they're eligible otherwise to donate to a federal campaign. So we need to collect that information pertaining to their name, address, occupation, and employer. So in order to actually make a donation, and we'll update the website with a little link to this, but in order to actually make that donation,
Sorry, go to the news section real quick.
The news?
Yeah. Click on news. Sorry, I interrupted you.
yeah, in order to make
Read those when you're bored. Read those messages. That'll give you an update on everything.
in order to make that donation, what I would say is reach out to us at crypto@westernforcongress.com. And
Nice.
we can begin that process and send you to the checkout page in order to push that donation through. But unfortunately, until I have a ticket open with Coinbase Commerce, and they said this hadn't come up with them before, but we're using them to do.
They're like political parties.
Yeah.
Does the Fed know you're there?
But
What?
it's great that we're doing this in a way. I don't think any other campaign, in Utah, but nationwide, we're trying to look at like what.
Democrats in Utah, I'm pretty sure no. Any other politician, I'm not exactly sure. I know the other two big profile Democrats that we're
There's
running with.
other Democrats in Utah.
Well,
Who are these
yeah.
other?
No, I was gonna
We've
say
got
Andrew
Unicorn
Yang
and Pegasus.
Eric Swalwell.
Bigfoot.
Oh, hey, easy. I would have found that bastard.
But
by now.
on the digital, I think it gets to sort of the model of creative thinking about banking, people who are excluded from banking, it gets to sort of a conversation that Yang started,
Yeah.
which I think was important. People are talking about universal income. I mean, even Romney seems to be open to this idea. So I don't know what you guys' views
Well, I
are.
mean, if you're going to mention a hero, I mean, Romney.
I'm not saying he's a hero.
Does he wear a cape? I mean, is the cape red or blue?
I just,
Magenta? Maybe a...
but there's a lot of good
Lavender.
thinking going on, and what Ty did with our campaign is actually
No, I like it.
introduce like some things that are very current.
Well, I like
and then
that.
we'll do more of that.
And not just that, but by you doing that, that takes a step towards, I don't want to say normalizing, but popularizing
It's part of a conversation.
cryptocurrency. Yeah, we need to do that because let's
Yeah,
face
right.
it, a Democrat in 1913 sealed the fate of this nation. And I believe that cryptocurrency can wrestle that back.
Central banking.
Yeah.
Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve. It wasn't just a Democrat. I mean, let's face it, a Republican.
That's what we're talking about.
wrote the
because
fucking thing while a Democrat put it in. I'm telling you, when Republicans and Democrats get to bed together and make that beast with two backs,
It took privatized
that's where
banking to
demons
get
are
there.
born. You know, that's where demons are born. When they get together, that's when you need to be scared. Every time. They've never gotten together on a dream and had it work out good for us.
Well, that's a fair point. I think we're trying to be part of the solution, and you know,
My biggest hope right now is further gridlock.
see, and I
Stop Trump from building that stupid wall because, hey, walls are prisons both ways. I want to have a place to escape to. You know, stop Trump from building that. Stop the Democrats from, raising a red flag with a whole bunch of gold stars on it and hammer and sickle and stuff. Let's just keep that going. Let's stop each other. You guys,
and then
you
what?
guys
and
keep,
then what? The net effect of
and then you
complete
guys keep the
dysfunction is
media
what? Is
occupied.
anarchy. You want anarchy.
But do you know what anarchy is?
Yeah, we talked about the definitions before.
Yeah, it's just no rulers.
Defund the government.
It's just no rulers. What if we pretended to Congress and the Senate and the president that they were still the government, but they weren't. We just sent people there in suits with cameras and, hey, we want to interview you because we think you're important. And who are you? Well, my name is Jared Anderson and I'm from Dick NN, and whatever.
I've got
and
a
it was
book
all
to read.
pretend and it was fake. And then we could all live a happy life without them hurting us and taking our stuff.
Well, I don't think the government I'm seeking to be part of as a Democrat is about taking or hurting. I think it's about not getting everything right. But again, a community, I think, has to come together on some certain principles of what do we need to rely on each other, which parts of our community basically are hurting more. And I'm fine saying I want a community that gives a shit about each other. And that's why I'm a Democrat. I actually think we've consistently tried to think through where are there cracks that some people you walk by and say, wow, it's either your fault, which is what I won't say all Republicans, but some people will say, oh, it's too bad you fell into that hole. You must have done something wrong. It's something you did. Whereas I would argue, no, sometimes people get floored by life or get hit by a medical issue or live on the wrong side of town and mom and dad can't give them money for school lunch. And I'm not walking by saying it's not my responsibility, because then our whole community pays a price. And it's about doing the right thing. I think governing gets overly complicated when people lose sight of what's the right thing to do. And then if you work toward the right thing, you may have a disagreement about how you get there, but you've agreed on the principle. Healthcare, public health, to me, is the right thing. No one should go bankrupt. No kid should not have, coverage because they were born with spina bifida. And before we Democrats push that issue, pre-existing conditions, mental health parity, this is factual. Guess what? You had spina bifida, you had mental health history, companies could say, you're too expensive. Good luck. That's a right and a wrong issue. I want to live in a country that says no kid with spina bifida, no person with mental health challenges is suddenly excluded from a system that's broken anyway. That's what I'm proud of, is that on the Affordable Care Act, and that's the biggest weakness of Mr. Stewart, is he's been attacking the Affordable Care Act every day of the week since he's been elected. Now he's trying to pretend that he's for other things. But I'm someone that's proud that we brought in 23 million people, that we didn't say, you're in the crack, oh my God, what did you do wrong? How did you get there? You know this logo? That is a real,
I like that. I like that
it's
you got.
actually, it is saying we're all in this together. We ought to remember that anytime left blue, right red, whatever, is attacking each other as a sport and a game, we're losing sight of, I think, what makes a country work. Fundamentally makes a country
Dude,
work.
I'm getting you a boom mic holder.
Yeah.
One of them fuzzy boom
Well,
mics that
luckily
look like they skinned
yeah.
a whole like coyote.
I'd be all right with one of these. I just think we got to get him a little
Yeah, but
He's lucky to have you, Ty.
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
we
yeah.
better wrap this up. 'Cause
My
it's-
wife's gonna get angry at me.
Yeah, it's been 2.5
What's your
hours.
wife's name?
Patricia.
Hi, Patricia. Thanks for persevering if you're still on the call.
But yeah,
You're never doing that again.
we'll wrap this up right now. But yeah, thanks for coming on,
Yeah.
Kael. I dig you, man.
Hey, well,
I
you
dig
know,
you.
you guys are doing
We'll
something.
talk a little bit off air. Also,
I want to hear some of those stories you alluded to.
I've got 3 beers in me, so I've got a gas tank right now,
Yeah,
and I've
so
got to
do I.
go feed that toilet. But anyways,
we'll be
but
back
yeah.
though. We'll try and do it when we go to the Army Depot and then Dugway and then
Yeah, give me your email. I'll make sure that.
yeah,
sure.
Kael at Weston for Congress. So
Yeah,
I'll text you guys.
yeah, and look in the links if you want to catch up with Kael. If you want to donate, if you want to ask him questions, whatever. I'm going to put his website in the links.
And my email, Kael at westonforcongress.com. So it goes to me only, and it's direct, and I
So all you
respond to
ladies who
everyone.
find him a handsome guy,
That's right.
I don't see a wedding ring.
Single, footloose, and fancy.
Oh, he's been through Lehigh. Yeah. All right. You guys
Yeah,
have
you
a
are
good
old
night.
enough to remember that.
I am, sadly, but happily. All right. You guys have a good night, and we will catch you next week.